But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Which is the first commandment of all?
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might, and with all thy strength. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Master, thou hast said the truth. There is one God, and none other but He. And to love Him with all the heart, and with all the understanding, and with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself, is more than all the whole burnt offerings and sacrifices.
Thou art not far from the kingdom of God.
Yo, hearts in chat right now, flames in chat right now for all the reactors out there, and in particular Larry 1K who's here with us right now. So, bro, let's make something happen, man. What's the plan? You want to throw me some words?
I got 3 words. I got 3 words for you, man.
Yes.
3 words.
Yes. What you got, bro?
All right. So my first word, I want to put this word together, but it's Jesus Christ. It's Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. All right. Hell yeah. Yep.
First word. All right. The second word, we're gonna go with Lucifer.
Lucifer. All right. We got a theme going.
Lucifer.
All right. Yep.
Yes, sir. The last word we're gonna go with is rapture.
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 Which, like, what does that mean exactly? Like, of course, I'm familiar with that word, but like, what is the rapture?
Like, I guess, like, you know, in biblical terms, like when Jesus, because I'm a Christian, when Jesus come back and like bring his people, so like I guess like grab or gather up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, dope. We got this, man. Jesus Christ, Lucifer, and the rapture, y'all. We about to do it. Here we go. You ready?
Let's go. I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Larry 1K is here. Yo, come on, yeah, come on, yeah, come on, yeah, come on, hey. When they hear him rhyme, they like, he's just nice. Rappers hear me spitting, they be yelling, Jesus Christ. H-Mac never stop, you'll be taking a loss. Rappers got me pissed off, man, they got me so cross. Hey, Mac coming through since my 2nd grade recital. I told you that my rhyme book is something like a Bible. H-Mac, I be taking rappers into churches, recording in the pews while I'm dropping rhyme verses. Yeah, this is biblical, all these rappers miserable. Every time I rhyme, I'm about to paint the visual, doing something different. Here's what I'm saying, rappers dropping to their knees right now and straight praying, like, please Lord above, help bring me love, cause this dude named Mac, well, when push comes to shove, I'm pretty sure he's about to go harder than the rest. Please Lord help me, he's putting me through a test. I don't know if there's a way that I can survive, cause compared to all these rappers, man, he got more drive, plus he got more practice and he got more bars, plus his lyrics like my life right now, cause they hard. Someone help me find a path through this. I don't know what I can do, help me Judas. Mac moving with the movement, y'all know I'ma crush it. I leave you flustered every single time I bust it. Now listen, I be coming off top with the truest words. I spit the fire and my shit is flaming hot like Lucifer. Yeah, every time I'm rapping I'ma make you panic. Yo, all my bars sound dark, satanic. Listen, I will excel from the place where I dwell. I'm with Big L right now, recording down in hell. No doubt, y'all know I'ma kick these rhymes. Shout to Big L, repping from the 139. Yeah, now I wouldn't say that myself unless Big L told us he would go there himself. So listen, I'm about to be there with him in the flames. Me and Big L straight spitting off the brain. Now, I do this forever, y'all know I'm hype. I be feeling like Lucifer, my dome got spikes. I got the tail as well and I grip the red trident. I'm stabbing through your heart each and every time I'm rhyming. Yeah, check the way I'm creating, there's no debating. I'm inflating from the heart while I'm spitting it hot as Satan. No contemplating, no deliberation is necessary. They hear the voice for 1 second, they say yes, it's Harry. Very much so, breathing flames like a dragon. I'm a fucking demon, got you screaming while you lagging behind, cause there ain't another rapper who can flex like this. Ah, my bad, shit, that was The Exorcist. I'm flipping out. Harry Mack, y'all know I'm about to rip freeze. I got your head spinning out 360. Yeah, I'm here right now, they all aware. I'm twisted up and mangled while I'm crawling up the stairs. Yo, I'm spitting through the static, it's a habit. Boom, boom, there's some sounds in the attic. Yo, I come through with the fatness, I rap sick. I heard in a church in Tennessee they got a mattress. True story. Hey yo, y'all know I'ma burn it down. H-Mac, yo, I got it, I won't return the crown. I'm here for all my people, y'all know I'm a master. Coming off the top and causing a natural disaster. I was in the church just recording with the pastor. Yeah, I be rhyming so fast, bro, I move past ya. Yeah, and you know I'm the real deal, not an actor. They all up in the game, but they not even a factor. Treat it like Smash Bros, Mac flows smack ya. I'm about to gather my fans, it's the rapture. Harry Mack causing disaster like Katrina. Told you off the top I be flowing like Aquafina. I'm fancy like in a Beamer, but I don't have a car. All I do is ride a bike while I'm spitting these bars. Feel like J. Cole cycling through New York. I be smoking microphones just like some Newports. Now listen, I'ma let them all bear witness. For me this music shit is religious. Yeah, and I'm slaying them all. Hey, rappers hit their knees, got them praying to God. Let's go, I told you I'ma let you bear witness. Yo, for me this music shit is religious. Yeah, I'm the one you might see twice. I got rappers yelling, screaming out, Jesus Christ. Let's go.
Let's go. Oh my God.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. Good to see you again. Good to see you. It seems like 2 minutes ago that I last seen you. Probably was about that, wasn't it? Good to see you. It's only 6 in at the minute, but like I said, this has got to be a long one anyway because it's a watch party. I'll try not to talk too much through it. 2.5 hours long. So yeah, it's a long one. But beforehand, Jim's done one observation. I want to show Jim's observation. Then Michael Kahn got baptized yesterday. So I want to show his baptism. It's only a 2-minute video. And then a little bit of scripture to back it up. And then we'll get on with it. So good to see you, John. Good to see you, Jim. Good to see you, Baza. Bless you guys. 7 watching. Good to see you guys watching. Anybody in Rumble? No, nobody in the Rumble side. But good to see you guys. Good to see you. Always a pleasure. I had to go and get my hair cut, man. It was doing my nut in. But my regular barber wasn't open for some reason. He says, oh yeah, there was a sign on his shutter saying, off on Monday, back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. It's now Wednesday, and when I was there, it was like 11:30, and they weren't there, so I had to go to another barber. I hate going to another barber because you have to explain to them what you want. And they don't always get it exactly right. But it'll do. It will do. Bless you guys again. Right. Jim Ennis first. We got one new one from Jim Ennis. Let's do it. And it's big. I think it's dedicated to Big Pine. Big Pine Mooning. That's the one. Big Piney Mooning. Actually, I'll do it now, so I don't have to do it at the end. Emily watching the chat replay. Jim Ennis's link there for you in the chat. If you want to sub to him, which I advise you do. Do it. Do now. Right, guys. Jim. The truth, you. Good to see you, brother. Oh yeah, that video of Khan was. He was only baptized yesterday, bro. He was only baptized yesterday. So praise the Lord. Do, do, do. No spin on the moon. No, certainly don't see any spin on the moon. Not like they say on it would, like the Earth would heliocentrically from the equator kind of spin. No, you do see the moon through a time lapse. It kind of turns clockwise. Well, for me, it's clockwise. I think it turns clockwise. I don't know. I don't know. I would say it's about 3, 4, maybe 5 degrees, and then kind of switches back. It's kind of got that movement where it turns a little, then switches back. It's mad, but no full rotations or anything like that. It doesn't do that. You're right, true view. Well, you know that their reason for that, the no spin thing, you know it, true view. They'll turn around and tell you the only reason you don't see the moon spinning is because it's been at the same time, synchronized with the Earth, so you don't notice it spinning. That's a load of. Yes, it is synchronized with the Earth. They're both non-rotational. They're both stationary. Well, not stationary. Earth's stationary, but the moon doesn't rotate from an equator around the poles. Stupid. Anyway. Title lock. Nice one, Jim. Nice one, mate. Yeah, so Michael's baptism, it's only two. You don't hear anything, he's just got music through it. You just see him. He's actually in a lake or a river of some sort. He's outdoors anyway. It looks like he's got a flow. So it's a river. But it just could be the wind, I don't know. But fair play to him. I was baptized in a baptismal pool in a church, but fair play. He got it done Jesus style. He done it Jesus style. Fair play to him. Fantastic. Yeah, this was just yesterday, Baz. Yeah, this happened yesterday. You got baptized yesterday. Fair play, man. Excellent. Right, Michael being baptized. Let's look at it. Michael about to get the full dunkage. I actually think that's a lake, not a river or a big pond. I think it's a lake.
Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. And put on Christ. Hallelujah.
Nice. What's that one? That is Soundly Banana. Good to see you. That looks good. I'll give that a watch later. Excellent. Excellent. The fake space psyop explained. The FA response to Kurt Metzger. Nice. Let's put a watch later in that. I'll stop flicking. Right. Anyway, Michael be baptized. Get the full dunk. Yay! Oh, dunkage! Nice. Nice. Fair play, Michael. Praise the Lord, man. I wonder what he said. Check the t-shirt as well. Jesus, the way, the truth, the life. Fantastic. Fantastic. Praise the Lord, man. That is like. Oh, he's fit. Wow, Michael, I tell you what, Michael, I'm fair play to him getting baptized, but he has. He's lost a lot of weight. I mean, when I stayed with him for 4 days, he had a bit more weight on him and that, but fair play, he has lost weight. Fair play, which he intentionally did. Fair play to him, man. He's done well. He's looking skinny there, actually. Wow. Fair play, Michael. Fair play. Fantastic. Oh, I should have put the link in for that, but it's on my community post anyway. It's on my community post. Oh, that's a little bit. Hold on, let me get me. It's a little bit small. Right, let's do that thing. What are we on? Let's go 130. Be 130. So, why did he get baptized? Well, scripturally, I mean, you don't need to be baptized to be saved. I know a lot of people say you do. It says baptized and be saved and all that. Yes, separately, you need to be saved to be baptized, I would say. You know what I mean? You don't just be baptized. You can get baptized but not be saved. What would be the point of that? But, yeah, Jesus says it. You know, Jesus says to do it. You know, I mean, what is it? I mean, basically, it's symbolic. Jesus did it, so he's just showing you, like, following his example. He got John the Baptizer to baptize him, kind of following his example. So why did Michael do it? I'd say it's his symbolic, it's his outward confession to the public, to everyone, of an inward spiritual change. It's an outward confession of an inward spiritual change. You know, that's his symbolic, that's him telling everybody and confessing in front of God, in front of Christ and everybody, symbolically, I am. The old self is gone. and the new self is coming. You know what I mean? It's up. It's with Christ. I'm walking with you, sort of thing. So yeah, an outward projection, an outward expression, should I say, of an inward change, spiritual change. So where is it? Where is it again? Where is it? 28, what? 28, 19, is it? I think. Yeah, down here. Yeah. Great Commission. From the Great Commission onwards. Yeah, that's the one. That'll do. I'll get it up here so you can see it. Yeah. From Matthew 28:16 says, Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke to them. All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things I have commanded you. And lo kind of means like take note. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Amen. So he says that take note. No, and it's commanded you. You don't need to be baptized to be saved, but you need to be saved to be baptized for it to mean anything. Absolutely. Do you have to be baptized? No, absolutely not. But Jesus does say to do it. He does say to do it. So why not? Why not do it? Yes, it doesn't change your salvation at all, or that would be classed as works. If you had to depend on baptism for salvation, then that would be works. No, you don't have to be baptized to be saved, but you have to be saved to be baptized, I would say, for it to mean anything. Yeah, go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Disciples of all nations. So to be a disciple, you have to believe first, don't you? You wouldn't be a disciple unless you're believing what this guy's teaching you, Then baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So you have to be a believer first, Baptizing doesn't do your salvation, but being baptized is being obedient to Christ. It is being obedient to Christ. And I thank the Lord that he did it. Praise God. Praise God. I'm glad he had the conviction to do it. I got baptized and I fell afterwards. But would I get baptized again? No, because my baptized meant it. I meant it. I really did mean it. I just fell to the temptations afterwards. A very early Christian. I wasn't very good at it, but I came back. So my baptism still meant something, Hey, baby, how you doing? Anyway, Michael, fair play to you. That's fantastic. It's fantastic. Right, now it's watch party time. So I'll try not to talk much because this is long. It's 2.5 hours. So I'm going to try and get it done. I'll try not to say much, but I'm sure I'm going to want to say something. If anybody wants to come in, I'll put the link in. I forgot I didn't put the link in. But yeah, that's just my words on baptism now. Absolutely. Oh, why does YouTube's doing this a lot? Where I text, so I send something and it says error, try again. Blimmin' heck. Why is it doing that? Now it's sent. Right, pin. There we go. Oh, sorry, Stanley said something. I did mine in 31st of the 3rd, 2019. Turns out 313 in the Greek is to be born again. 2 seconds, guys. Hello. Who is this? Oh, okay. No, the next appointment says I've got is on the 25th of August or something on a Saturday. A phone appointment. Okay. All right. I didn't see that. I actually, because I seen this call already that I'd missed the call because I was in the kitchen. I'm actually live on YouTube at the minute. I'm doing my live stream, but yeah, I seen a missed call, and I seen it was an 0800, so I went and checked my journal, and I'm sure it just said, it still said the 25th of August, Saturday, the 25th of August. All right, sorry. Yeah, that would be a lot better if that's okay. Sorry about that, because I honestly thought it was the 25th of August. It still says that, but I possibly missed something. Is that okay? Sorry about this. All right, so the appointment will be next week sometime. Excellent. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. They didn't put another appointment in my account. I went and checked it out. It was the 25th of August. They're trying to say they changed it to today. Now, if they did, then they never gave me the message early enough. See what I mean? See what they do? That was DWP. DWP. Brits will know what DWP is. Department of Work and Pensions. Anyway. So yeah, Greek is begot to be born again. Sorry, I didn't get to finish that because that phone call. I did mine on the 31st of the 3rd, 2019. So 31st of March, 2019. That date rings a bell for me for some reason. 14th of March is my son's birthday, but the 31st of March is someone else's. I don't know. Anyway, turn out 313 is the Greek is Greek. Sorry, in the Greek is to begat, to be born again. Yeah, begat is to be born again. Absolutely. Fair play. Fair play. That's good. It shows you, see, sometimes God gives you these little messages. Just these little messages that's personal to you. You know what I mean? That's cool. That's cool, bro. Bless you, man. Right. Again, I'll get on with this. And it's 2.5 hours long, so I'll try not to say much because I don't want to be here all day myself. And if I do review it, it's going to take forever. So I'll try not to say much at all. Let's do it. Oh, yeah, sorry, let me explain it. Right. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I only heard of it the other day, and it intrigued me because I thought, who the hell would do something like that? It's so sick. Right. It's called The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. It was a psychological experiment on 3 schizophrenic dudes. It's, 3 completely like people that need help. You know what I mean? Because their mind's gone. But schizophrenic dudes that thought they were Christ. So it's possible schizophrenia, and it's possible demonic, but they thought all 3 of them thought they were Jesus, thought they were Christ. So these doctors had a good idea to do an experiment on them, or I would say it's a study, not an experiment. I would say it's a study more like, to put them in a dorm or whatever together. I don't know because I haven't watched it, and see how they interacted with each other and encourage them all that they were Christ. I think that sounds like a sick thing to do. I mean, for even excluding the fact that it's bloody blasphemy. Obviously, the people, if they are ill, they don't know it's blasphemy. But the people doing this, I mean, to do this, man, to encourage someone to think they're Jesus, that's blasphemy, bro. The person who is ill, it's possibly not their fault. I mean, they could be demonically influenced or they could be ill. Anyway, let's watch it. I just thought to myself, I've never heard of it, The Three Christs of Ypsilanti, until the other day. And I still don't know about it. I just know basically what it was. And it went wrong, obviously. So let's have a look. This is from a guy called Wendigoon. He just talks about it, I think. I don't know if he shows much. He might put up some text on the screen. Hey, Dean, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Right, let's do it. And again, I'll try not to talk much because it's long. It's 2.5 hours long. Here we go.
3 people, each diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and each believing themselves to be Jesus Christ, and asked them to live together for 2 years. Well, that is exactly what social psychologist Milton Rockledge did in 1959 in an experiment dubbed The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. A landmark social experiment that is as remembered as it is controversial. An experiment that Dr. Rockledge...
Controversial? Wow, not just controversial, but blasphemous completely. I mean, especially coming from faith terms.
20 years after the study was published, would say he still regrets. Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 Jesus experiment. This is one of the most wild psychological experiments I've ever read about. I can't think of another one that would have
I think it's completely sick. I think the one where they got the students to be prisoners and officers. I think that was sick as well, because they started to actually act like they were officers. They started to actually act like they were prisoners, and they had to rebel and all that shit. I think it's awful, things like that. It's sick, but this is sicker.
Me laughing one moment and near tears in the next. From the men's background that
since the men could be ill and or demonically influenced,
led them to being hospitalized in the first place, to some of the developments in their psyche as the experiment went on, to a lot of the details of the experiment itself that were questionable in 1959 and definitely not okay now. If you're interested in this case, then I highly recommend my main source, and really the only primary source for this study, and that is the book, The Three Christ of Ypsilanti, which
I had to download it, guys, because it's 2.5 hours long. So with 2.5 hours long, it would have had loads of ads, especially since this guy would be well monetized and gets tons of views. So it would be full of ads. So I downloaded it. But his link is in the description. His link to his channel, Wendigoon, if you want to sub to him. I don't think he's a Christian or anything like that. It's just somebody he just does interesting topics.
Is the published study that Milton Rockich released. The experiment lasted 2 years, and through the book, Milton includes not only his own findings, but all of the letters that were exchanged during the time, as well as the testimonies of several people or staff members that were also involved in the study. A lot of the time, published research studies can be hard to read, but Milton speaks in a very conversational English, and the entire book was a pleasure to get through, other than the things that were described in it, but the words were nice. I will caution, however, for both the book and this video that there will be some sensitive topics discussed. Things like child abuse and self-harm, so if those are things that you're sensitive to, might want to skip this one. But for the rest of you, let's talk about how 4 guys talking around a table led to so much controversy. We are going to go ahead and get into it, but as always, thank you for watching. First of all, let's talk about Milton himself and where the idea of this experiment came from. As mentioned, Milton Rockich, or Rockich, I've heard it pronounced both ways, was a social psychologist who taught at Eastern Michigan University, prioritizing his research in the field of mental disorders. And for studies of that type, Eastern Michigan University was certainly the place to be, as Eastern Michigan University was in the town of Ypsilanti, just west of Detroit, as Ypsilanti was home to the...
Sorry, where's Ypsilanti? He just said, let me just find it for myself. Ypsilanti is a city and college town in the southern. Oh, it's in Michigan. So it's in the States. Oh, a name like Ypsilanti. I thought it would have been okay. It's in Michigan. I thought in Washington County. Okay. With a name like that, I would have honestly thought it was European.
Ypsilanti State Hospital, a psychiatric hospital that was huge for the time, as after World War II, to treat the rising need of veterans who had mental issues, the psychiatric hospital expanded and was able to care for
so instead of treating veterans, you do stupid psychological experiments or tests. No, I wouldn't say experiments, tests, studies on people who are really ill or demonically possessed, encouraging them to be Jesus, because they already think they are. 3 of them, not just 1, 3. That's bound to cause something. I mean, wow, were they trying to cast each other into hell or something? Or did they live together as a trinity of some sort? What the heck?
1,000 residents. Rockich began to develop an interest in helping people with paranoid schizophrenia, a complicated illness that a lot of people still aren't educated on today, much less in 1959. Paranoid schizophrenia itself can present itself differently in different patients. Also worth mentioning that paranoid schizophrenia is no longer a diagnosis. Schizophrenia and paranoia are now 2 separate diagnoses, but as you can see from the writing, at the
schizophrenia and paranoia, yeah, they are. But can't you have schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia? I know obviously schizophrenia doesn't always mean to say you're paranoid, mainly, but surely that's still a thing. Like obviously paranoid is a different from schizophrenia, but you get paranoid schizophrenia as well. See the amount of things that times that change bloody meanings, definitions of things, when it really just means the freaking same thing.
the time, paranoid schizophrenia was the diagnosed illness. A wide array of symptoms can occur, like auditory or visual hallucinations. But Rockich, being a social psychologist, was specifically interested in those that had an identity crisis. More specifically, Rockich was interested in people that had a crisis of their primitive beliefs. As Rockich describes it in his study, most people's beliefs
Their primitive beliefs. Well, I mean, why primitive?
can be broken down into two groups: primitive beliefs and non-primitive beliefs. Primitive beliefs are core things that we understand and don't have to be taught to us beyond childhood. In other words, things that become so core
So things that are just obvious, like axiomatic.
to us that they're practically
Self-explanatory.
unshakable. For example, a child must learn what things like tables or chairs are. But once a child gets to a certain age, they no longer need to readdress that belief. After they get the concept of a table down for the rest of their life, they're going to know what a table is. Whereas primitive beliefs, once figured out, are pretty rock set in a person, non-primitive beliefs continue to adapt throughout a person's life. Beliefs in politics or religion. People will often change their non-primitive beliefs throughout their life, but their primitive ones tend to stick around. For example, after you were like 3 or 4 years old, you didn't need to keep learning your own name. As a matter of fact, from a young age, you were probably so confident in your own.
I did. I keep learning my own name every single day. No, I'm not joking. But you get people who do. They're like, oh, who am I again? I have actually seen someone forget their name, forget their age and stuff. I've seen that. I've seen someone do that, forget their name for a second. It's
own name, that if someone else, even an authority figure like a teacher, called you by a different one, you would correct them. Because they're things that don't need to be debated. They're things you just know. To change someone's primitive belief, it normally takes an authority figure.
Exactly. I mean, there's things that just no. Now people would just say my primitive belief would be Christ, because I have to keep being taught about Christ and learning scripture. But yes, cool. Still learning, always am. But I also know that God is real through conviction of the Holy Spirit. I mean, that's how I would describe it. I know through the conviction of the Holy Spirit. So, I mean, to stick it down as a primitive belief, I think it sounds a little bit derogatory.
That the person trusts, and even then, to change someone's primitive belief can be quite stressful. The example Rocky chooses is one day his two daughters were getting into a fight with each other. So, in a moment of frustration, just to see how they would react, he referred to each of his daughters by the other one's name. And at first, his daughters thought it was funny and played along thinking it was a game, but after about 10 minutes of it,
it's going to annoy you, yes. Why would you do that to your daughters? Why would you guinea pig them like that?
They began crying, asking him to stop. And I'm sure it applies to adults as well. I mean, imagine if like you came home one day and there was someone else living in your house and they were very adamant that they lived there, and everyone else in your life tried to convince you that was never your house. That would be alarming. Rocky said that in paranoid schizophrenic patients who had identity issues,
that would be like a physical Mandela effect.
they were hard to treat therapeutically because they would have incorrect primitive beliefs. People that believe they're an angel or a demon, or that their parents aren't their real parents. Things that should be intrinsic, but they're confused on. But because of the paranoid aspect of their illness, they're not willing to listen to outside authority figures who correct them. So in communication, these people are hard to reach because they're effectively locked down with no way of putting correct ideas into their thought process. It was in Rockich's study for this that he came across two accounts that made him think there might be a solution. The first of which occurred all the way back in 1663. In Voltaire's commentary of an old essay called On Crimes and Punishment, Voltaire describes the account of someone named Simon Morin who was burned at the stake in 1663. Voltaire's account when describing Simon reads as, quote, "He was a deranged man who believed that he saw visions, and even carried his folly so far as to imagine that he was sent from God, and gave out that he was incorporated with Jesus Christ."
Look, exactly. He was a deranged man. So the guy who's writing this book took a deranged man and another deranged man and another deranged man and put them together in a deranged situation, all believing in the same delusion about themselves. So believing that about themselves and seeing someone else who says that about themselves confronting each other, I'm sure they wouldn't just turn around and say, well, you must be Jesus because you say you are, and I'm Jesus because I say I am, and he's Jesus because he says he is. No, I'm sure they would argue about it. No, I'm Jesus. No, if they actually really believe that. It's a messed up situation. Really, why would you do it? Sick.
Parliament very judiciously condemned him to imprisonment in a madhouse. What is exceeding singular, there was, at that time, confined in the same madhouse, another crazy man who called himself the Eternal Father. Simon Morin was so struck with the folly of his companion that his eyes were opened to the truth of his own condition. He appeared for a time to have recovered his right senses, and having made known his penitence to the magistrates of the town, obtained, unfortunately for himself, a release from confinement. Sometime afterwards, he relapsed into his former state of derangement and began to dogmatize, which led to the aforementioned burning at the stake.
And then so it shows that that guy had spells of it. He could get better, but then someone comes along and encourages it. Wow, that's unbelievable. Especially when you can see he's prone to getting better and falling again. So that's just so sick. Again, like I said, it might not just be schizophrenia. I mean, medically and all that, yeah, that's what they're saying it is, and it could be, but it also could be demonic influence, I think.
But this was interesting. All the way back then, Voltaire wrote about a guy who thought he was God, who was thrown into prison with another guy who also thought he was God, and that caused Simon, if for a while, to see that he was just unwell. The other came from psychoanalyst Robert Linder in his well-known case study.
That's what made him become well. Then you can see reason with some things then. But then you stick him in a situation where you encourage his delusion. It's really bad.
The jet-propelled couch. Linder, a psychoanalyst, was working with a man named Kirk who was convinced that he was an astronaut who would fly off to faraway planets and then back to Earth. So Linder starts playing along and says he was...
The actual real astronauts, like so Buzz Aldrin, do that exact same thing. They dream of doing that as well because they've never actually done it.
Was also there with Kirk and flew to all of these far-off planets with him, and Linder justifies this decision with, quote,
"It's not just mentally ill people who think they're astronauts. It's also astronauts think they're astronauts when they're not. They dream of it as well."
It is impossible for two objects to occupy the same place at the same time. It is as...
Ooh, right. Ooh, that's interesting. Physics.
As if a delusion such as Kirk's has room in it only for one person at one time. As if a psychotic structure, too, is rigidly circumscribed as to living space. When, as in this case, another person invades the delusion, the original occupant finds himself literally forced to give way. Linder goes on to describe a case he saw in a sanitarium in Maryland, where at the sanitarium, two women who each believed they were the Virgin Mary passed each other in the courtyard. After the two began to talk and both introduced themselves as the Virgin Mary, one of the women became distressed by...
They might have been called Mary, and they might have been virgins. They might be the Virgin Mary.
by this and went to an orderly, remarking that she must not be...
Because the Virgin Mary was a virgin at one point, but wasn't by the time she died.
The Virgin Mary. And from there, that woman went on a road to recovery and was eventually released. So putting all these cases together, Rock each has an idea. If the issue is people with paranoid schizophrenia have base beliefs that are wrong, but no outside force can convince them otherwise, then perhaps the most successful means of change would come from the self. And what if the best means of promoting that self-decision came from putting that person with someone else who also thinks they're that person? Now, from the jump, you may be hearing this and see some complications. Mental illnesses are not...
Absolutely. I mean, it's already delusional, but to put them in a situation with their own delusions where the situation itself seems delusional, it's just totally got to confuse them even more. It's mental. It's mental. Sorry. No pun intended.
Not a one-size-fits-all, and there has got to be a lot of things go right for something like this to work. Because if the patient isn't willing to have...
Confusion, the author of that is Satan. So this experiment came from Satan. This test, study, whatever. Because to me, it's not an experiment. they are making it happen. They are putting people in that situation. They're not observing something and saying, "Ooh, let's find out how, why, what does that, how that, what causes that." That's not what they're doing. They're making up the situation, putting them in that situation, then seeing what happens. That's a study. That's not bloody science.
Self-revaluation, then what you may do is just get them really stressed out and angry and retreat further into their beliefs. But at the same time, I think context for this case is important. The year was 1959. Treatments for people with a debilitating mental illness included things like electroshock therapy.
I knew I was just about to say electroshock therapy. I knew it was going to be the first one. And probably things like transorbital lobotomies. You know, that was awful. I know they weren't mainstream, but a guy did do them and it's sick. Transorbital lobotomy. Sticking a spike above your eyeball. What? While you're still awake as well. Wow.
Or, lobotomies. So little was understood. Rockich's idea of primitive
I called them both.
beliefs in mentally ill patients was just theory at this point. At a time when the leading healthcare idea was what's the best way to mentally castrate these people, I think Rockich's idea of what if we make them talk to each other isn't that bad. Or at least it wasn't at the beginning of the experiment. We'll get to the rest of it later. So Rockich proposed a study to find as many people as they could throughout the state of Michigan that claimed to have a singular identity. In other words, find all the candidates you can who claim to be one person. Emphasis on the one person. It can't be someone who just thinks they're a bunch of different people. They have to consistently stick with the same wrong narrative and also be, comprehensive enough to communicate that. There was some that thought they were Napoleon. There were some that thought they were the president. But for one reason or the other, multiple candidates were deemed non-viable. Until eventually, they found 3 patients in the state of Michigan who each believed that they were Jesus Christ. 2 of which were already at the Ypsilanti State Hospital. So the third was moved to Ypsilanti, and the plan was every day the group would have a meeting with either Dr. Rockich or an assistant presiding. And initially the idea was to just see what would happen. So let's talk about these 3 patients and the tragic circumstances that led them here in the first place. Right after we talk about the sponsor that lets me make weird videos about 1950s social experiments for a living. Thanks, guys. But before we get into the things of nightmares, I want to get into the things of night dreams.
Yeah, let's not watch the sponsor.
So not only are their names changed, but as far as head to drinkag1.com/. And for the first 24 years of his life, he worked as a farmhand on his father's farm. Also, as mentioned, Rockich wanted to make sure that these guys' identity was secret, so not only are their names changed, but as far as I know, there's no photographs of them. So you're just going to have to figure out what they looked like in your head. It was at the age of 24 that he married a woman whose father also owned a farm nearby. So he moved to his wife's property and began to help his now father-in-law run his farm. Clyde and his wife were married for 18 years and had 3 daughters. According to Clyde's daughters, who were interviewed during the study, they said that their father was always a very immature man. And not immature in like a childish sense of humor or he liked to kid around. Immature in that he never grew up. Till he was 24, he was never that educated and just did whatever his parents told him to do. And then once he moved in with his wife, he just did whatever her dad told him to do. On one occasion, when Clyde was in his 30s, some other guys at local farms said they were going to hop on a train and go west because there was money to be made. So with no plan, Clyde just hops onto a train and he's gone for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then he comes back and he doesn't have any money. The daughters remarked that their mother, Clyde's wife, would often have to be a mother to him. But despite this, the two seemed happy. That was until after 18 years of marriage, Clyde's wife died. Now, in the study, it says that Clyde's wife died while having an abortion. Now, this could be the medical procedure abortion or what we would now call a miscarriage, because back in the 1950s and 60s, the term was spontaneous abortion to refer to what we would now call a miscarriage, and an induced abortion of what we know as the medical procedure abortion now. And again, because the identities are protected, there's not really a way to verify which one, but regardless, during some kind of lost pregnancy, his wife died as well. If that wasn't bad enough, in the span of about a year after this, his dad, mom, and father-in-law all died as well. As you can imagine, this left Clyde destitute. He inherited the farms from both families, but began to use the money to drink heavily. During this time, he reconnected with a woman who was a friend to him in his youth, so Clyde remarried her, and the two of them drank away.
People who obviously don't like this topic was bloody for watching. What the heck is going on?
Both family farms together. Clyde would have a couple kids with her as well, but eventually abandoned the family, which led to a divorce in 1941. During this time, Clyde would get drunk and become a public nuisance and be arrested and then released, until one night when he was arrested while drinking and seemingly suffered a massive mental breakdown. He was up all night in his jail cell screaming that he was God. He took all of his clothes off, tore up the bedding, and said that he was Jesus Christ and that he could hear the voice of his first wife, the one that died, in a passing airplane. He declared himself the King of Heaven and his late wife, the Queen of Heaven. He was released to his family, but was constantly belligerent and determined that he was in fact Jesus, which was spurred on much worse by the drinking, and Clyde was eventually hospitalized around 1943 at the age of 53. At the time of the study, he had been in hospitals for 17 years and was nearly 70 years old. Rockage described
Nearly 70 years old, and he thought he was Jesus. Oh, well, that's got to be not, well, literally nuts. But come on, picking a guy like that that's been in hospital a long part of his life and still isn't well. I mean, that's sick, man.
him as very tall and mostly toothless, but otherwise healthy and spry for his age, though he was hard to understand as he would often mumble to himself. What's interesting about the three Jesuses that Rock each put together for the experiment is they each came to that conclusion in very different ways. Our first one, Clyde, being a man who was functional for most of his life, if juvenile, but suffered his delirium due to a mental breakdown after losing everyone. Let's talk about our second Jesus for this experiment, Joseph Cassell. Joseph was born in Quebec, Canada, and was actually not born under the name Joseph, but Josephine. His father naming him a girl name after a girl that his father was fond of who had died. So he decided to just give his son that name. Granted, both Joseph and Josephine are pseudonyms that Rockage has given this real patient, but Rockage clarifies later in the book that even though he made up Joseph and Josephine, whoever the real person was named a girl name that they substituted for like the adjacent guy name. Joseph was the oldest of 9 children, and his father was a very strict man. Being born in Quebec, his father was French Canadian and forbid English to be spoken in the house. Joseph would not talk a lot about his childhood, but in an out of the blue mention, recalled one occasion where his father got mad and picked him up and threw him to the floor. Despite this, Joseph's mother seemed to be loving, according to all accounts, and was a positive influence early on in Joseph's life. That was until Joseph was 16 years old and his mother died while giving birth to her 9th child. When his mother died, Joseph went to live with his grandmother, a woman who was very religious. That's something we would probably expect to see out of all of the participants, but we didn't see out of Clyde. You know, you would think someone who thinks they're Jesus Christ would have like a strong connection to Jesus Christ in their life beforehand. But religion didn't seem to be a huge part of Clyde's life until, you know, he suddenly figured out that he was God. Meanwhile, this time that Joseph lived with his very religious grandmother probably implanted a lot of the ideas that Joseph would build on later in life. After a few years with his grandmother, Joseph moved to Detroit on his own. The one thing Joseph was very interested in was literature. He read constantly. He read every book he could get his hands on, and he had dreams of being a writer. In the meantime, working as a clerk to finance his living. When he was 24 years old, he met a woman named Beatrice, and the two of them married. However, according to Beatrice, Joseph didn't really have an interest in women before he married her, and didn't really have an interest afterward. He would not kiss her, he said it was improper, and would not let her touch his face. And any time they did make love, he was very specific about the sheets have to be clean, she has to be bathed, and they have to be very specific about all of the dynamics that were to take place. He was also very adamant that he did not want children as it would get in the way of his writing. Beatrice really wanted children and eventually talked Joseph into it, to which the two of them had 3 daughters. It's so weird that both Joseph and Clyde had 3 daughters in their first marriages, or Joseph's only marriage. After their second daughter was born, Joseph tried to convince Beatrice that instead of her staying home to take care of the kids, she should go out and get a job so he could stay home and write. She said this was a bad idea because Joseph doesn't know anything about child rearing. People around him would describe that Joseph was far too serious all the time. If they were at a social event, he could never take a joke or didn't understand them. Anytime they went to a party, after a few minutes, he would slip away to read by himself off in a corner. It seems he was very untrustful of those around him, and that began to show itself as paranoia when his second daughter was born, as he was convinced that his wife had had an affair. He harped on this point so much that when their third daughter was born and he accused his wife of having an affair, she just went with it and said, sure, whatever. In 1938, the whole family was in a car when they got into a car wreck. Joseph was okay, but the rest of the family was injured and had to go to the hospital. It was after this that Joseph's mental state seemed to take a dramatic downturn. He became much more nervous and anxious over medical bills and probably the fact that he incidentally hurt his family. He complained that he couldn't work anymore, that having a 9-to-5 stressed him out, and one day he just quit and refused to get another job, insisting that his wife should go get a job because he wants to stay home and write. Because they now had no way to afford living on their own, the whole family moved back in with Beatrice's family in Canada, to which her family constantly berated Joseph that he needs to get a job, and on one occasion, apparently, her brothers just beat him up. This did not help Joseph's paranoia, and he began to say that members of the family, including Beatrice, were trying to poison him. They would sit down to drink, and he would make her switch cups to prove that she didn't put something in his drink. Eventually, Joseph could no longer live around her family, so Joseph, Beatrice, and the girls went to go live with Joseph's father. And Joseph's condition continued to get worse. He began to accuse Beatrice of not really loving him. In contrast to his previous sexual feelings, now he was all over her, but on one occasion when she stopped him because she was on her period, he accused her of lying just so that she didn't have to sleep with him. Beatrice was doing what she could to save money so that they could move out, but then Joseph would take the money and use it to buy a bunch of books and then hide them from her. During one of his tirades, he stood on top of Beatrice and began twisting her arms, and from this, Joseph was committed. He was committed in 1939 and early on was very violent to other patients. He would remark that he would attack other patients because he knew they were going to attack him first. It was also around this time that Joseph said he began hearing voices. He would also write constantly. Among these were letters that he would write to the staff at the Ypsilanti hospital. Among these, he said that the reason he's locked up is because he found out about his wife's multiple affairs. He also claimed that the hospital was forcing him to have homosexual thoughts. The first mention of him being God would come 10 years later in 1949. At this time, he wrote to one of his daughters, quote,
Doesn't matter how long I would have been in prison for anything like that, I would never have got homosexual thoughts. No, thank you. So being institutionalized is no excuse for homosexual thoughts. If you get them, then there's something wrong. Get out for it.
My wife is Benny Barnes, movie actress. I am prince and god and keeper of the courts. This is the truth. I have civilized the whole world. I am eons and eons of years old. I'm the richest man in the world and England. I was the strongest and mastered psychiatry. It came out just beautifully, charming and nice. From here, the God thing remained consistent. He would say that he is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. At the time of the study, Joseph was 58 years old and had been in the hospital for 20 years. He was bald, missing several of his front teeth, and would always have his pockets full of stuff. Just papers he was writing, or cigarettes, or pens. So with Clyde, we have someone that had a mental breakdown. With Joseph, we have someone who seemed to have these paranoid delusions throughout his life that got worse as stress was introduced. And then finally with Leon, we have probably the kind of case you would think of when you think of someone who thinks they're Jesus Christ. Leon was born in 1921 while his father...
Oh, sorry, I've been doing some... I ain't seen you. I didn't see you there. Good to see you, bro. I seen a little bit. I was obviously live at the same time. I had a quick look over while this has been on. I had a quick look over. I seen a little bit. I didn't see it all. I needed to, bro. I needed to go and get my haircut, man. It was just getting too... do you know, before I got a cut today, it was only cut for... I was thinking it was 4 weeks. It was about 5 weeks ago. I mean, it was this short 5 weeks ago. And then it just got that length in 5 weeks. It's ridiculous. It just grows so quickly in my hair. I have to get haircuts so quickly. So regularly if I want to keep it short, you know what I mean? And I have to keep it short because otherwise, I do like long hair, but to get it long, you have to go through the messy stage. And my hair is really wavy. So it's like psh, all over the place sort of thing. So now I just keep it short nowadays. Yeah, Vicky ran over me with a lawnmower. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's been many, and I don't know if people are I mean, this, like I said, this is 2.5 hours long. I don't know if people are up for it, but like I say, I'm not talking much because I've got to get through it. It's a watch party more than a review, obviously. But I don't think people are into it. There's not many people here, to be honest. So I don't know if people will still want to go on with it, but I'm playing it anyway. I don't know. Would you rather go and watch a movie over in Rumble, like The Dark Tower or something? It's up to you guys.
Father and mother were on a year trip in Europe. Leon was the youngest of 2 brothers, and right after Leon was born, while his family was still in Europe, his father left for the United States early so that he could abandon his family for a woman he wanted to be with back in the US. So Leon and his brother were left to be raised by their mother alone.
I went to my normal barber, right? And he's usually open at 11 a.m. That's really late. But I went there and I went there at half past 11. And his shutters were closed. And then on it had a sign saying it was for Monday. Off on Monday, all day. Be back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. It was now blooming Thursday. Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. And it was 11:30 and he wasn't back. So I had to go to another barber, which I don't like doing because you have to tell them what you want. My barber already knows what I want. And I've already had to go to my original barber. Ended up retiring, so I had to find another one. Then I moved, so I had to find another one. So I got stuck with this one. But then when he's not there, I hate to go into another barber because I have to tell him what I want. And sometimes they don't get it exactly right. But he did all right. So all good. All good.
His mother rented a house near a Catholic church, and the church became her life. To make money, she worked as a scrub woman, which was a woman that was hired to, scrub floors. And while she was gone at work, she would lock Leon and his brother in their room. And when she wasn't at work, she was most often not home, but instead at church. Every spare moment she had, she would go there and pray incessantly. So much so that on multiple occasions, the priest who was interviewed during the study would tell her that she needs to go home.
That's it. You kind of get used to your barber. You get religious about it, don't you?
Home and take care of her kids. She refused, saying that she heard.
I didn't go to a hairdresser or a barber until after I was 14-year-old. I used to get my sister and my mum to cut my hair because they were good at it. My sister, before she ever had clippers, could cut my hair in a way that made it look shaved at the back, shaved at the sides, blended in and everything without clippers. My sister was really good like that. She could get it right down that far with just scissors. Even cutting patterns in my head and stuff like that when I was younger. Yeah, so I always got my sister to do my hair. And if not my sister, my mom. My mom was second best at my hair.
Heard voices that spoke to her from heaven. And she was obsessed not only with religion, but with religion iconography, lining every wall of the house in pictures of Jesus and crucifixes. Leon's older brother, as soon as he could move out, did just that and eventually moved to New Zealand, never to be seen again. Leon, as you could imagine, grew up in Catholic school.
Oh, wow. Yeah, during that era, I done my nothing because I didn't have a barber. There was one because I was in I was here from the second part of, I was in Coventry for the second part of Convid, but the first part from 2020, I was where Vicky's at the same time where Vicky's at. So I'm not going to say it loud, but I was in the same time. And they didn't have barbers open for ages, but when they did, and you had to go in and have your temperature taken and all that kind of crap. I hated it, but I had to go. I had to go because I needed my haircut badly. And I had to sit there with a bloody mask on and get my temperature taken and all that crap just because I wanted the haircut. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. But yeah, if I knew how to cut my hair, if I didn't mind my hair being shaved all over, like the same grade all over, I'd be fine. But I do. I like it cut on top and shaved at the sides, sort of thing. Or else I would have done it myself. Hey, Akuma, how you doing, man? A massage now. I've never had a massage ever. A massage, proper from your missus and that, yeah, but not professional massage or anything. I've never had a massage.
Until he was old enough to go to pre-seminary school, as you can imagine, his mother was sure he would be a priest. However, he was expelled from this pre-seminary school at the age of 17 for...
Like, say, guys, sorry I ain't talking much. I ain't putting much input into this because I'm learning about it. I've never heard of it before. and it's 2.5 hours long. So yeah, I ain't talking too much because obviously I've got to get through it. And I'm learning about it. Obviously, I'll have a comment here and there to say, but yeah, if I'm quiet, it's because I'm meaning to be.
Reasons we still don't know. Leon seemed to be pretty smart and managed to get a job as an electrician for a large company. All of the money he made, he would give to his mother, who he still lived with. As soon as Leon started making money, she quit her job and spent every hour she had either in her garden.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be adverse to it, bro. I wouldn't be adverse to it. I just haven't had it done.
Or at the church, eventually renting another property directly across the street.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about us talking to it. No, it's fine. No, I'm just saying if I don't talk, it's because of the video. No, don't worry about it. You can still do what you do, man. But yeah, that's all good.
From the church. Leon's mother once remarked that Leon was a good boy and did everything she told him to. Around the time Leon was 18, his dad showed back up, who again Leon hadn't seen since he was 0, and Leon's dad asked if Leon wanted to come live with him, but Leon refused. The one thing Leon did to go against his mother is when World War II kicked off, Leon joined the army.
So
he joined the
I don't know if the people who just come in and get the gist of this. I'd never heard of this experiment. I don't think it's an experiment. It's a bloody study, a test of some sort, and a sick psychological test of that. But there was these 3 schizophrenic people. All of them had the same delusion that they thought they were Christ. And these stupid doctors thought it'd be a good idea to stick them all in the same environment to see how they would react with each other, all having the same delusion of being Christ. And study it, say it's an experiment. It's not an experiment. It's being guinea pigs, yeah, but I don't think that's an experiment. Sick. Yeah, to see how they'd react with each other, I suppose, and encouraged to think they were Christ, you know? Stupid. Such a horrible, horrible thing to do. So, yeah, I don't know why anybody would do that. It's evil. But, you know what I mean? I'd never heard of it. So, to me, it sounded like interesting, something I'd like to learn about. You know what I mean? So, I've never heard of it until the other day, and that's kind of why I'm doing it. But, yeah, that's the basic gist. 3 schizophrenic dudes think they're Jesus, encouraged, they're put in a place together by these doctors, experimented on, tested, studied, whatever, and encouraged to be who the delusions say they are. You know what I mean? It's really bad. It's really bad. And obviously it went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, but it went wrong.
Army Signal Corps, and when the war was over in 1945, he left as a private first class and had 4 ribbons and 4 combat stars. His mother would remark that she was upset with this decision because when he came back, he didn't obey her as much. He tried college for a while, but then dropped out of that and just reassumed his job.
So again, I would say these 3 guys can definitely be, they might be mentally ill. I would dare say they are schizophrenic, mentally ill, but they could have been demonically influenced as well. They could be ill or demonically influenced, or they could be ill and demonically influenced. Either a mixture of either, on any one of them, you know.
As an electrician. However, it was around 1950 that Leon started to slack off of work, eventually missing so many days that he was fired. His stated reason...
Yeah, I did have a look over in that. I did notice it that in the chat. There was a Terret, there was a Akuma and all that in your chat. Jamie, Sea Level. He's not called Sea Level anymore, is he? Just Jamie, isn't it? Okay, Croissant, Illuminati Croissant. I've seen all them there. Sometimes I just don't say anything. I did go in for a little look, bro. Every time I see you on, I do have a look at that now and again. Depends how much I want to put up with Arwen's face. You know what I mean?
For this was that he was getting chronic fatigue whenever he was at work and wanted to take time off. He got another job, but a couple years later in 1953 left that one for the same reasons. One week in 1950, while Leon was still working, him and his mother got into a fight. His mother forbade Leon from doing anything. He could not talk to women. He couldn't buy a radio because she said it would keep her from hearing the voices she needs to listen to. And during this fight in 1950, Leon said that he was going to quit giving her money unless she started cleaning up the house and cooking for him, rather than spending all of her time at the church, to which his mother replied that he was never good enough to be a priest. It was around when he quit his second job in 1953 that Leon said he could hear voices as well, and that these voices were telling him that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. In 1954, one day, Leon locked himself in the bathroom and refused to come out. His mother, not knowing what to do, went to the priest, and the priest went to a doctor, and the doctor had him committed for a couple months. 6 months later, one day, Leon began going through the house and breaking all of the iconography his mother had, smashing pictures of Jesus, breaking crucifixes. His mom tried to stop him, and he threatened to strangle her if she did. After he destroyed all of the artifacts in the house...
That's why I think a lot of people who are deluded about being Jesus themselves, I think a lot of it has got to be demonically influenced. It's got to be. It's got to be, because how else would you think that, you know? Especially if you don't come from a religious family or a faith family or whatever, you know? And who would blaspheme God anyway? Likes the devil. So yeah, it's the kind of demonic thing if you do, you know what I mean? I'm not saying these guys ain't ill. Of course they could be ill, absolutely. But I just say that they could be demonic influence also. Not them all, possibly them all. You never know.
He then looked to his mother and said that she could now worship him as Jesus. His mother, afraid that he was going to kill her, goes to the police, and from there, Leon was committed. A friend of Leon's, before his breakdown, said, quote, "I don't think Leon liked boys, but he did not know how to act with women. His mother drove him out of his mind. She was the one they should have shut up. She was crazy, praying all day and all night, came in Leon's room, praying over him in the middle of the night. She nagged him about everything he did." Leon said he wasn't mad at her, that she couldn't help it, but sometimes he was mad, but he just couldn't walk out on her. He was afraid of her, afraid of the priest, afraid of everything. I guess he couldn't take it anymore. At the time the study began, Leon was 38 years old and had only been hospitalized for 5 years, compared to the 17 and 20 of Joseph and Clyde. He was tall, lean, and was always very kind and graceful. He would walk around softly, have a soft expression on his face. He would even walk with his palms up, overlapped over each other everywhere he went, and would always walk around with a very welcoming expression. Out of the 3 men, he was by far the most Christ-like in appearance. As a matter of fact, later on in the study, when Leon grew his beard out and grew his hair a bit, Rockage remarked that he looked remarkably similar to paintings of Jesus. Of the 3 men, Leon is certainly the most stereotypical for someone that thinks they're Jesus. Was raised around a very overwhelming Christian presence throughout his life. And his mom certainly had a mental illness, quite possibly schizophrenia herself, that was just undiagnosed and untreated, that it seems she passed down to her son. And growing up around these images, as well as his own untreated mental illness, led him to express the same things his mother had always expressed when he was younger as he got older. So once all the men were now in Ypsilanti, Rockage's experiment could begin. It began on July the 1st of 1959, when all 3 were gathered together in a common room at the Ypsilanti State Hospital. And how did this first meeting of 3 Jesuses go? I mean, you can imagine. So Rockage starts out by introducing himself along with several of the assistants who will be aiding in the study. They're hospital workers that will be following and documenting the men outside of Rockage's meetings. So after they introduce themselves, Rockage turns his attention to the 3 men, to which Joseph answers first. "My name is Joseph Castle." Joseph, is there anything else you want to tell us?" "Yes, I'm God." just off the bat. It just straight into the hot zone. "My name is Clyde Benson. That's my name straight." "Do you have any other names?" "Well, I have other names, but that's my vital side. And I made God 5 and Jesus 6. Does that mean you're God?" "I made God, yes. I made it 70 years old a year ago. Hell, I passed 70 years old." And then finally, Leon, who says, "Sir, it so happens that my birth certificate says that I am Dr. Domino Dominorum et Rex Rexarum Simplis Christineus Puris Mentalis Doctor," which is Latin for Lord of Lords, King of Kings, Simple Christian Boy Psychiatrist. It also states on my birth certificate that I am the reincarnation of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and I want to add this. I do salute the manliness in Jesus Christ also, because the vine is Jesus and the rock is Christ, pertaining to the penis and testicles. And it so happens that I was railroaded into this place because of prejudice and jealousy, and duping that started before I was born.
Got you, Baza. What the heck? Sorry, I was making a coffee and that. So let me just quickly read this myself, because what the hell? San Leon began it so happens that my birth certificate, so Leon's one of the patients, obviously, right? Okay. Right. It so happens that my birth certificate says that I am Dr. Dominorum, Rex Rexarum, Simplis Christianus, Puris Mentalis Doctor. This is all the Latin Leon knows. Lord of Lords, King of Kings, simple Christian boy, psychiatrist. What? I'm sure that would say that in a birth certificate. Of course, of course. It also states on my birth certificate that I am the reincarnation of Christ. Since why would it say that on a birth certificate? Nobody knows the day or the hour. So that's kind of announcing it. And you've already been. Oh wow. And I am the reincarnation of Christ. But again, an ill guy or demonically possessed or influenced. And I also salute, and I want to add this. And I also salute. How does that make sense? So it also states on my birth certificate that I am the reincarnation of Christ of Nazareth, and I also salute. And I want to add this. Oh, I do salute the manliness in Jesus Christ also, because the vine is Jesus and the rock is Christ. Pertaining to the... Oh my goodness. What? Pertaining to the penis and testicle. So, right, the rock is the testicles. And what, the penis is the branches? The vine, I mean. The vine. Wow, and it so happens that I was railroaded into this place because of prejudice and jealousy and the duping that started before I was born, and that in this main issue, why I'm here, I want to be, if I do not consent to their misuse of the frequency of my life. Wow. Well, that is something. That is either delusion, comedy, or demonic.
And that is the main issue why I'm here. I want to be myself. I do not consent to their misuse of the frequency of my life. You know, it's a way to say hello. Leon begins to refer to some...
Exactly, the twig and the berries is what to do with this. Well, obviously he's equating the balls to the rock and the penis to the vine. What the heck?
Something called an electronic imposition that's messing with him. Something that he'll keep talking about through his conversation.
Do you know, Akuma, I don't think you ever will see a birth certificate like that in your whole entire puff. If you do, then it's obviously been manipulated. Oh, wow.
And as soon as Leon gets done speaking, the fight starts. Joseph says he's the reincarnation of Christ.
I wouldn't see in the hoose. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
I can't get it. I know who I am. I'm God, Christ, the Holy Ghost. And if I wasn't, by gosh, I wouldn't lay claim to anything of the sort. I'm Christ. I don't want to say I'm Christ, God, the Holy Ghost, Spirit. I know this is an insane...
So he actually said, if I wasn't, by gosh. So he's saying he's God, but then he's saying, if I wasn't, by gosh. By saying by gosh, that's like saying by God, because that's just another way of saying God, because it's instead of saying God, like gosh, so that, oh God type thing. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. I would lay claim to that. Anything of the sort, I am Christ. I don't want to say I'm Christ, God, the Holy Ghost Spirit. I know this is an insane house, and you have to be very... Wow, so this guy knew he's insane. He was rational about his insanity.
house, and you have to be very careful. Leon tries to say something, but Joseph just talks over him and says, I know what I've done. I've engineered the affairs of the stronghold in a new world here, the British province. I've done my work. I was way down, way down. I was way, way up. I've engineered, by God. I've taken psychiatrics, and nobody came to me and kissed my ass or kissed me or shook hands with me.
They're all saying by God. when they're claiming to be that.
Told me about my work. No, sir, I don't tell anybody that I'm God or that I'm Christ, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. I know what I am now. I know what I'm going to be. This is an insane house. You'll also recall in the letter Joseph wrote earlier that he mentioned Britain there as well. That will come up a lot with him. As they get into a fight, Leon says that he doesn't want to tread over whatever it is Joseph believes. Rockich asks what Clyde thinks, and Clyde says, I represent the resurrection. Yeah, I'm the same as Jesus. To represent the resurrection, I'm clear as saint convert you ever see. First standing took me 10 years to make it. 40 cars a month. I made 40 Christ, 40 trucks. But don't worry, when asked if he's God, he does in fact remark that he is God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Immediately, the two most
So you've got incoherent Christ. You've got and that end one was incoherent Christ. You've got rambling Christ, and then you've got, what's the other one? Very good with his words, right? In that, what was it? Can't think of the word. Anyway, let's go on.
Volatile personalities, Joseph and Clyde just start yelling at each other, I'm God, no, I'm God. After they yell for a while, Rockich says that this first meeting should be adjourned. And after it quiets down, Leon says that what Rockich is doing is akin to mental torture. And Leon further remarks he will not be coming to any future meetings. Despite this, Leon comes to every future meeting. Important to note, Rockich had set up with his team before the experiment began that all of this is voluntary. If at any point the men do not want to come to the meeting or don't want to participate, they will not be forced to. The next day, they have a meeting again, and everyone comes in. And something weird.
Articulate is what I was looking for. Articulate. So you had articulate Christ, you had pedantic Christ, rambling Christ, and the incoherent Christ.
Happens off the bat. Clyde starts to say the same thing about him being God, but Joseph says, he raised me up. He raised me up in England, pointing at Clyde. Rockich asks what he means, and Joseph says, well, I died and I was reproduced by him. Oh, you're a re-rise, Clyde asked in wonderment. Yes. Well, I didn't know that, Clyde said. See, now he is a re-rise from the cemetery, and I didn't know that. Like they're both speaking within delusion.
This is all the three delusional Christ dialogue with each other. Mad, isn't it? Three different Jesuses, Jesus. Whoever sounds like we need to bring over some water and have a party. Yeah, right. 3 Christs. That means 3 lots of water turned into wine. Wow, amazing.
But it's like they are finding common ground and communicating to each other through it. But as Rockich starts to press, Clyde once again remarks that he is God, but Joseph says that he is also God, so they start to bicker a bit. Rockich then turns to Leon, who, by the way, Leon has asked to not be called Leon, as that is his dupe name. And he would instead like to be called Rex, which is Latin for king, very humble. Leon referred to
Yeah, very prideful. That's a very prideful Christ, that one. Very prideful, that one.
as Rex says that the other 2 men are in fact gods, but they're like lowercase g gods, hollowed out instrumental gods, as he calls them. There are 2 types of gods, God Almighty, the Spirit, without a beginning and without an end. Nobody created God, the God Almighty. Then there are creatures who are instrumental gods. There are some who aren't hollowed out, and there are some who are hollowed out.
Well, I mean, there's a bit of truth in that. There is the false gods, absolutely, the little g gods that are mentioned in Scripture. Do you not call yourself gods? But they're not actual real gods. But yeah, so I mean, that's actually a little truth to that, a little bit of truth there. I wouldn't say it's completely accurate. There's a bit of truth to it.
Clyde seems to agree with Leon, seemingly liking that he's being referred to as a god. Leon keeps going and gives a bit of insight into how his mind works. I understand your situation pertaining to dying to death and making the person a hollowed out instrumental god. You are correct there. As far as my understanding from what I have read and from practical experience, it is that I am a creature and I have a beginning. A human spirit has a beginning and his body has a beginning.
Yes, so you can't be God.
Pertaining to its life as such. Therefore, I cannot say that I am God Almighty.
But so what? So you Right? Okay, contradictory.
Because if I do, I'm telling myself a falsehood. And I don't believe in telling myself a falsehood. I'm a creature, just a human spirit created by God before time existed. So you are a creature, but you are also Christ? Yes, sir. I am the reincarnation of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the first human spirit. As opposed to
But he believes that Christ is God, so he's still calling himself God. It's so contradictory. It shows you how deep delusion will go, especially when it's encouraged.
Clyde and Joseph, who just keep saying, "You're not God, I'm God. No, you're not God, I'm God." When
Right.
Leon tries to clarify that he is Jesus Christ, Clyde just starts screaming, "I am him." Leon tries to clarify his divinity. Rockich asks if Leon, if he is God, made Clyde. And after Leon says he did make Clyde, Clyde just laughs at him. After this is going nowhere, Rockich asks, "Men, why do you think you're here?" And Leon gives an interesting answer. He says, "Sir, I sincerely understand pertaining to reading between the lines and stay behind the scenes."
He likes to say pertaining, as in according or relation to or relating to whatever. He likes to say pertaining.
And I realize that those people who bring patients together to have one abuse the other through depressing is not sound psychological reasoning deduction, meaning a person who is set in his way, there is nobody on earth. God cannot change a person either, because God Almighty respects free will. Therefore, this man is so-and-so, and
This is the one that seems to know more scripturally, I suppose, in the principles within scripture anyway, in certain parts he seems to be a bit more rational.
I'm so-and-so. And on those merits, to try to brainwash, they call it organic cosmics through the meeting of patients, one against the other, that does not sound psychological deduction.
Yeah, but it's supernatural. Chuck's God. You know what I mean? Chuck is God. And then he ends up being a right asshole. And his sister is God. And supernatural is good, man. But the way they ended it, it made me cry, at the end. I was greeting it end of supernatural. But I don't think, right? I think the way Sam is, right? I would have think he should have been the one sacrificed rather than Dean. I understand the sacrifice, but I think it would have meant more coming from Sam. Now I'm talking about supernatural, sorry.
Also. Therefore, I give credit to
And it was so sad, bro. I was crying. I was really crying.
those gentlemen where credit is due. And when a person speaks the truth, it makes that person free.
We do agree on something.
Meaning the other person cannot go against that person and try to take away a righteous conscience. Leon seems to be remarkably aware of what's going on, knowing that Rockich is doing some kind of psychological study to see how they react, but that Leon doesn't like negativity impressed on one another, so he is simply keeping the peace. Not so far as to lie and say that he isn't God because he believes himself to be God, but to qualify it in a way to keep the mood light. At one instance of Leon referring to Clyde as a hollowed out god, Clyde gets mad at that and says he's not hollowed out.
But
And Leon,
Akuma, did you notice in the whole lot of supernatural, though, as much as God was mentioned, demons, the devil, the Satan was there, Nick was there, all that. Christ was never mentioned. Not that I remember. Or there was never a part for Christ. Or even in dialogue, I don't think Christ was mentioned that I remember. But you would have thought in all that kind of lore and myth and all that kind of stuff, there would have been a part there for Christ, But obviously not. Maybe they were a bit scared to use Christ. But yeah, I loved the series. I thought it was great. I mean, 15 years is big. And it was never a bad series, I don't think. There was some series better than others. But I don't think they really had a bad series, did they? I think 15 years was good, man. 15 years was good.
Leon follows up saying he's trying to compliment Clyde, that the whole hollowed out thing is a good thing. Joseph remarks that he is God, and if anyone says otherwise, he's going to laugh about it. When Joseph is asked why he thinks...
I used to watch it when it first came out. Series 1, Series 2-ish. Only here and there. I was back in them days, I was on drugs a lot. I didn't even realize it got to Series 15. So I used to watch it when it first came out, lost track with it, but somebody told me about it like 3 years ago. So I caught back up with it 3 years. And I just went from the first series all the way. I can't remember if it was on Netflix or Prime. I just went from the first series all the way to the end. And then after that, I did the CW series of Flash. But yeah, no, I went through 15 seasons. 15 seasons. I loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Obviously, there was bits in it. I thought, well, that's not Christ-like, you know, that kind of thing. But you know, it was fun. It was fun. It was really good. Really good.
They've been gathered together, Joseph says, so that they could discuss him being God. Not the others being God, just him. Because, of course...
No, see, I watched it all in a winner. It took me about, I don't know, 4 months, maybe? All in all. Something like that. About 4 months. Same as when I watched the Doctor Who's. I watched them from season 1, 1963, all the way through to like the 80s, then the movie, and then the new Doctor Who, and then even Shooty Gat was bloody Doctor Who, which is terrible, you know, but I still watch it and hope it will get better. But yeah, I kind of do things like that. I watched them all in a one-up.
It's God. When Clyde's asked why he thinks he's here, he once again mumbles about all the riches he has and the kingdoms and the stuff.
It's about time I went through them again. I like I say, 3 years ago, last time I went through them. It's about time.
Before Clyde remarks that he owns the hospital, which, if he was God, would make sense, I guess. While this is happening, Leon begins to hold his head in what seems to be a headache. When asked if he has a headache, Leon says, "No, I don't, sir. I was shaking it off, sir. Cosmic energy, refreshing my brain. When I grab cosmic energy from the bottom of my feet to my brain, it refreshes my brain. The doctor told me that's the way I'm feeling, and that is the proper attitude." Pertaining to the question that you asked these two gentlemen, each one...
I liked it. I mean, I liked the earlier seasons as well. And then, do you know when Castiel come in? I never wanted him to leave. Love Castiel, man. Castiel, that angel, I loved him. He had a brilliant part. And he's got such an arc in there, going from like a, you know what I mean, that kind of proud, vengeful angel to starting to, he was a bit Christ-like in the end. He was a bit, maybe that was your Christ in Supernatural, was Castiel, you know. Maybe that was kind of a version of Christ. But he had a big old arc in it. Look, he was brilliant.
Is a little institution and a house, a little world in which some stand in a clockwise direction and some in counterclockwise, and I believe in a clockwise rotation. Which that last part's like an elaborate way of saying I'm right, they're wrong, I think. Rock each asks if they've been resurrected, and they all say yes. And then he asks...
I always looked forward to seeing the dad as well. You know what I mean? I always looked forward to seeing the dad, because he wasn't in many. It was always mysterious, the dad, you know. And Dean always looked up to his dad. I mean, he just wanted to be his dad, didn't he? Wanted to make his dad happy. Obviously, Sam was completely different. He rebelled against his dad, didn't he? He didn't want to be. He didn't want to be a hunter. Anyway, shut up, PJ.
If there's only one Christ that was resurrected, and they all say yes, and then they each remark that that is themselves, and then Clyde and Joseph start yelling about it. After Joseph continues to remark that he's going to laugh the other two off, he says, "Well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to be dismissed from here and go back to England, and I'll be awfully glad because I know I belong to England. I'm from England originally. I want to go back there."
How'd the phone call go, Roger? Did you just do a live phone call thing? Oh, you're doing it now. I thought you'd just done it. All right, Roger. Good to see you, bro. Let us know how it goes, man.
I've done.
When are you doing it? How long is it going to take? You're live now. You're live now. Aren't you? Yeah, I can see you live. I'll check in a minute or so. See if you made the call. I might flick it over for a minute. Right, I'll keep that there.
Enough work here. I came here the 20th of March, 1940, and now it's 1959. I've been here 19 years. I certainly deserve to be dismissed from this here.
All right, so it'll take about 20 minutes. Right. Right, so check in about 20. I'll check in about 20 minutes then, bro. I'll check in 20 minutes. Bless, man. So what time is it now? So I'll check at 4 o'clock. Right.
Hospital. I want to go back to England. You can deport me to England to a hospital. They have a hospital in London, don't they? I worked for England right along. Darn right. As I mentioned, Joseph was born in Quebec and seems to have never even visited England. He will keep bringing that up throughout the study, though, specifically that the hospital itself is an English stronghold and that he is being financed to.
No, I'm saying I'll check at 4 o'clock because you said 20 minutes. So that'll be my 4 o'clock.
Live there by the English government since he is a true Englander and has always fought and stood for England.
A true Englander. A true Englander. I mean, I've heard of Lowlander, Highlander, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I've never heard of an Englander or a Scotlander. I've heard of an Englishman or a Scotsman, but not of an Englander. Oh, nice.
England. We can't be sure where this belief came from. The theory that Rockage proposes near the end of the book is perhaps since his father was such a controlling aspect in his life and demanded that he speak French growing up, that an early rebellion in Joseph's life was learning English. Not to mention the historic rivalry between England and France. So perhaps the England idea is a rejection of his father's ideas, but that's just a theory. A game. Okay. This initial couple meetings would set the stage for the next 2 years of experiments. More specifically, in the way the three men would react. Clyde was always the most stubborn of the three, and also the most short-worded. He would yell, "I'm God," or he would get upset, and then as they continued to ask him questions or challenge him, he would just state, "I am God," and that'd be the end of that argument. Joseph would get a little bit more intricate, but was the same tone of Clyde in just getting angry. His beliefs were certainly more elaborate. He would be more detailed about how he's from England and this is an English stronghold and he's God who created this thing and that thing. But both of them are in stark contrast to Leon. Leon, and this will get more apparent as the experiment goes on, would have this vast web of relationships.
Again, I don't see it as an experiment. I see it as a sick study, a sick test.
And beliefs and characters that he would constantly rearrange to make the room work. He initially stayed firm about his own identity, but if someone said something conflicting, he would just kind of change the narrative to make both of them be correct. And while you may at first see this as a kindness, he doesn't want the others to feel wrong, as we're going to see as the study goes on. It seems that it is more so to defend himself and his own beliefs versus conforming to theirs. Because while Clyde and Joseph have forms of denial, just denying new information, Leon seems more determined to make his delirium work, even if he's not aware that he's doing that. In an early meeting, Clyde is asked what he thinks of Joseph and Leon saying they are God, and Clyde says he doesn't care because they are dead and controlled by machines. When Clyde is asked where the machine is, he points to Joseph's stomach. With Joseph's permission, Clyde lifts his shirt and feels around where he thinks the machine is. And when he doesn't feel anything, he says, "That's funny. It isn't there. It must have slipped down where you can't feel it." Clyde will be set in a single direction, and if something comes up that contradicts that direction, that is still his direction. What's also important to remember about these guys is it's not like they're tricksters or they're conniving in any way. They're mentally ill. It's not that Clyde is trying to be malicious, and when he...
No, I agree with that. They're mentally ill. Mentally ill or influenced by demons or both, you know. So yeah, no, they can't actually help with that, what they're doing, you know what I mean, and what they're saying. That I mean, they can help. They've got a choice in certain things, but it's the delusion, it's the illness, it's making them say these things. No, obviously.
He hears something that proves him wrong, he just sticks his nose up at it. Again, go back to what Rockage was talking about with primitive beliefs. He believes this thing to be true. There is a machine inside of Joseph controlling his dead body. And when he can't feel it, that doesn't matter because the machine's in there. He knows that. Some people approach cases like this with a sort of frustration that despite all the evidence they're shown, they don't go along with it. But going back to the name example from earlier, if I approached you and said that your name was not your name, you probably wouldn't believe me, regardless of whatever documents or...
I would believe you.
evidence I had. That's why there has to be a patience and a time given to mental health therapy because truly they can't help it. Joseph does say one of the funniest things he ever says in one of these early meetings when he's asked what he thinks of Clyde and Leon's beliefs. And Joseph says, "It can't be God or Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit by any means. There's only one God. I'm the only God. Clyde and Rex are patients in a mental hospital, and their being patients proves they are insane." Joseph will do that a lot. He will see things happening and he will correctly call them out or describe what's happening, but he won't apply it to himself. Or more accurately, he is unable to apply it to himself. Leon, meanwhile, continues to build up this lore within his mind. He continues to say that they are lesser gods and says that Joseph is the reincarnation of a fallen angel and at another point Davy Jones, and that Clyde was the reincarnation of King Matthias. And what he's doing here may just seem like crazy ramblings, but there's a consistency. Joseph talks about being an Englishman and that he's in an English stronghold, but he's also God. So what are the two things Leon says he's a reincarnation of? Famous Englishman, Davy Jones.
Sorry, Roger, but what the hell, Roger, man? Roger, I don't know if you can hear me, Roger, but why the hell have you got Wesley as a friggin' mod? Are you mad? Are you absolutely mental? Blaming hell, Rog. That is nuts, bro. Nuts. I'm literally going to ask him 2 seconds. Why the hell have you got Wesley as a mod? Sorry, guys, it's just ridiculous. I have to ask him. What a dick. What a dick. Anyway, sorry.
And a fallen angel, something from divinity in heaven, but of course not God, which Leon is. And Clyde always talks about all of the money and land he owns, so he calls him a king. Leon consistently seems to be the most cognizant of the three, so it's hard to tell how much of this is purposeful or how much it is his mind putting together these connections and him thinking them legitimate. When asked again why they are there, Clyde again says that he owns the hospital, so, why not be? Joseph goes back and forth. Sometimes he says he's there on behalf of England, or he's there just because he wants to be. But other times he'll almost recognize his condition, saying things like, "I'm sick in the head, but not insane." But these little revelations are never consistent enough over time to be considered a breakthrough. Leon's reasons for why he's there are all over the place. Sometimes he'll say he's trapped there because of jealousy. Other times he'll talk about these electronic signals or duping, which is his way of saying, like, cosmic forces tricking him. Or other times he'll say he is being sent there by his uncle, who is a reincarnation of the Archangel Michael, to effectively be an undercover agent to see what's happening to people inside of the hospital. And a lot of the early meetings were characterized by these petty fights. Upon a fight where Leon isn't referring to Clyde and Joseph as Christ, Leon begins to change the definition of what Christ means, eventually remarking, quote, "Anyone with testicles is a Christ. That's what Sir means." So now he's changing the parameter of the word to say, like, well, they are a Christ. Of course, I am the Christ. But they can be called that too, I guess. One day, they get into a fight over what it means to worship, and Clyde says that Leon should worship him since, of course, he is God. And Joseph remarks, "No two men are Jesus Christ." And Leon says, "You hear mechanical voices." And Clyde says, "You don't get it right. I don't care what you call it. I hear natural."
Mad the dialogue they have with each other. I mean, the civil to a certain degree. Well, they have to be, they're all Christ, aren't they? They were peaceful. But, it's mad that they're not just at each other's throats straight away, to be honest. It shows the depth of delusion. They've got to try and work this out. How does this make sense, Mad.
Troll voices. And Joseph adds, "I'm going back to England." Leon remarks, "Sir, if the good Lord wills only." And Joseph says, "Good Lord, I'm the good Lord." Keep in mind, these guys were housed in the same ward at the hospital, so they would see each other outside of the meetings as well. They would see each other on their work shift, at breakfast and dinner. And sometimes early on, Leon would just pick a fight. One of my favorites is a few weeks after the meetings start, when it says, quote, "Leon pointed to Joseph and said, 'His foster father's a barracuda. Clyde's is a sandpiper.'" "My foster father was not a sandpiper," Clyde answered. "That's your belief, sir," Leon said. This talk of his dad being a sandpiper made Clyde so mad that he got up and started yelling in Leon's face and threatened to hit him. And as he had his fist reared back, Leon just said, "Can I borrow cigarette paper?" Again, it's hard to tell how much of this is Leon's mind just working this way and how much of it is him kind of prodding until he sees he's taken it too far, and then he quits prodding. During one meeting, Joseph calls Leon insane, and Leon says that his uncle, who, if you'll remember, is the Archangel Michael, is going to kill Joseph with a ball of lightning. Joseph calls Leon insane again, and then Leon snitches on Joseph, saying that Joseph has been shoving towels down toilets. I don't know why he was doing that, but apparently he has. Rockich makes an interesting point out of this interaction when he says, as this incident demonstrates, Joseph and Leon each paid attention to what the other was doing and expressed their awareness openly. Such behavior, representing as it does an enlargement of the sphere of involvement with others, is uncommon in paranoid schizophrenics, who are generally concerned only with themselves. In the very process of defending their delusional systems against attack, these two men became realistically oriented towards each other in order to obtain information to use as weapons of attack and defense. So sure, it's not for a good thing. They're trying to snitch on each other and keep tabs on each other. But in placing them together, the experiment is doing something. The men are becoming aware of each other. They only got physical with each other on a few occasions. Initially, the three men had laundry duty together. And apparently on one instance, while moving a laundry cart, Leon and Joseph almost got into a fight, but were separated. On another instance, during a meeting, while talking about false gods, as they would do, Joseph and Clyde began to call each other false gods and got into a scuffle, where they kind of just clung on to each other and tussled a bit, and then got pulled apart. The wildest one came when, during a meeting, Leon casually mentions that Adam was black. Clyde gets really upset at this and says that Adam was a white man, eventually standing up and walking over to Leon screaming about it. Leon remarks that Clyde is being a fool, so Clyde just punches him in the face. Immediately, the assistants are all over him and pull him back, but according to Rockich, Leon was just sitting there perfectly still with his hands on his lap, got hit in the face, and didn't move at all. And then just dropped the subject, and then when asked about it later said, you know what, maybe Adam was a white man. This is interesting because it seems a part of Leon's belief changed when he was given extreme distress, getting punched in the face. Either this is his mind's reaction to a situation he's not used to and not comfortable to be in to readdress itself, or if Leon is aware enough to know that he's prodding, maybe he saw this as taking it too far and decided to step back. As the meetings went on, the group kind of got into a melody of how things would go. Clyde, for the most part, was reserved to himself, but Leon would often bait Joseph. For example, if Joseph made a passing mention of getting coffee, Leon would say something like, "Oh, I thought the English drank tea." And anytime Joseph got too worked up in response,
The English do drink tea, but they also drink coffee. Simple. I mean, yes, they are well known. I mean, it's stereotypically known that English drink tea, but yeah, they drink just as much coffee as well. Same as Scottish. I drink coffee. A lot of people prefer tea. I prefer coffee. I like both, but I prefer coffee.
Leon would switch to peacemaker. Very often in the middle of arguments, just going, can I change the subject, and bringing up something completely different. If Leon was ever speaking over Joseph for too long, Joseph would just kind of shake his head and allow Leon to keep speaking, but putting a word in edgewise every now and then so he wasn't forfeiting the conversation. He just didn't want to participate. Joseph also made a habit of going on very long bathroom breaks in the middle of the meetings. Joseph began to bring books and magazines that he would...
I've just gone over to see what Roger's doing on his, to see if he started the phone call yet, and he's bloody watching me. He's watching us, guys. I'm like, I wonder what he's doing. And I went over there and I was like, oh, am I looking? I've clicked the wrong tab. And it's not, it's Roger's tab because it was different people in the chat. I was like, so I went over to see if he started the phone call and he's sitting watching us. He's got us on chat. He scared the crap out of me, Roger.
Read instead of participating in the meetings, but Rockich turned this into a group discussion, as he would ask Joseph to read these things out loud. And it became a regular part of these meetings to have group reading time. And as things got too negative for Leon, he would get rid of the bad energy. Doing things like mentioned before, rubbing his temples. Sometimes he would pour salt in his water because that helps, I guess. He would also talk about how if he didn't like something, he would shove it into his squelch chamber. Squelch chamber was a passage in the back of his brain that any idea he didn't like would go into and would be churned up and thrown away. However, as the men would continue to bicker in meetings, something interesting was happening outside of the meetings. The three men had the habit, when on their free time, to be near each other. Not necessarily friendly or chummy, but just in each other's company. In the massive common areas that could fit 100 people, they would often be seen in the corner together, not talking but being near each other, either sitting in chairs next to each other facing the same way, or Joseph would do things like get a chair right behind Leon's and face the opposite direction, but still close to him. Joseph's wife still visited on occasion, and on one occasion brought a fruit basket. The research assistants noted that as soon as Joseph got the fruit basket, he went and offered the fruit to Leon and Clyde. One day to see what would
be honest,
be
I mean,
some sensitive
shit,
topics.
I just knocked it back to the start. Numpty. Don't even know if I remember, but I'll sort it though. I thought there'd be more presented rather than just the dialogue. I know I thought you might have had something presented there, but I mean, I thought it'd be less talking, but it's fine. I mean, the information's there, and the dialogue is quite interesting considering, but I still think it's a sick way to put sick people, ill people together like that and encourage the delusion. It's bad.
Kind of the idea of this, one person becomes responsible for the other two, something that is rarely seen in paranoid schizophrenics, as most often they are concerned about themselves and, paranoid of others. Midway through Leon's time as chairman, he apologized to Clyde for leaving him out of the discussion. When it was Joseph's time to be chairman again, he, for some reason, walked into the common area and invited two random people to come to the meeting. And the two random people just followed, and Rockich had to stop and be like, what are you doing? Go find the two correct ones. And when asked about this later, Joseph just kind of ignored it. Perhaps he was confused and embarrassed that he picked the two wrong guys. Quote, the meeting typically opened and closed with a song. The pattern...
Well, let me read this because I didn't catch that last bit. The meeting typically opened and closed with a song. The pattern of singing became established one day early in October when Joseph brought a songbook to the meeting. During the session, while Joseph was reading America, that must be some kind of paper, is it, or magazine, he and Leon spontaneously began singing it. As they did, both stood up and Clyde joined them. From that day on, the men sang various songs from the songbook. Wow. It's almost... I mean, it says here in the title, that it went wrong. So far, they seem to be getting on with each other. It's kind of mad, isn't it? Literally mad. and maybe demonic. Anyway, let's carry on here. Let him read it. I had to read that for myself because sometimes when I read it for myself, it goes in better.
The pattern of singing became established one day early in October when Joseph brought a songbook to the meeting. During the session, while Joseph was reading America, he and Leon spontaneously began singing it. As they did, both stood up, and Clyde joined them. From that day on, the men sang various songs from the songbook. So moving on from here, every meeting they would start and end with a song, most often America. And then this next paragraph is one of the most touching parts of the entire study. At first, Clyde had some difficulty reading the small print in the songbook. Leon noticed this, and the next day, as they were about to sing, he extracted from his pocket a piece of paper on which he had copied America in large print. With Leon in the middle and Clyde and Joseph standing close on either side of him, barbershop style, they sang America. From three men who started out fighting each other that each one of them was Jesus and the others are liars, this is a remarkable amount of progress when it comes to social understanding. Not only are they near each other and choose to be around each other, something very uncharacteristic of paranoid types, but Leon saw Clyde had trouble reading and then thought about it enough to go copy the whole song so that Clyde could sing with them. The experiment gets into some places that are questionable near its end, but through moments like this, it is hard to not understand why Rockich wanted to keep pushing. If you asked anyone at the hospital before the study began if these men were capable of something like this, I'm sure they all would have said no. But even if it's just from the time they're forced to be around each other, these human emotions started to come through. About 6 months in, Joseph had to miss one of the meetings because he was in the hospital. He had felt...
Sorry guys, I was just looking over at Rogers to see if he started the phone call yet, but he's not, he's still watching us.
felt a pain in his chest, so to treat it, he went to the laundry room and got bleach to rub into his skin, which, as you could imagine, burned a lot. Which, while you could question why people in a psychiatric hospital had access to chemical cleaners, it was 1959. I'm just glad they weren't throwing them in those giant pins.
Roger, if you can still hear me now, just when you start your phone call, so I know, just say something in my chat. Just say, yo, started it, so I can flick over.
or whatever it was they used to. So Leon and Clyde went to visit him, and after it was suggested by a research assistant, brought him flowers. Joseph made a big deal of this, was very appreciative, and for a long time spoke of how much he enjoyed being around Clyde and Leon. And in combination with this, they seemed to be showing improvements in their schizophrenia. For example, around this time, Joseph started to say that he was in fact born in Quebec. There were signs of progress being made, but in other places, not so much. For one, Joseph's whole going to the bathroom thing kept up, and he had now also added the habit.
He's ringing now. He's not answering. It's unavailable. Right, it's not open. That bit he just tries not open. I don't know if you said that through my mic or whatever. I don't know. Let's quickly swap over.
Press 3 for Stephanie.
Let's try Stephanie.
Press 4 for Mary.
Right, so this is Roger phoning ACL. Yeah, cool man. Bad Christ overflowing the toilets. Ah. The only thing he's got to get an answer.
106 is unavailable. Please leave a message.
I'm getting the same results that I got when they were closed.
Yeah.
Well, let's try one of the other girls.
Go on then, quickly.
Please listen carefully as our prompts have changed. For purchasing, please press 1. For sales, please press 2 for Melanie. Press 3 for Stephanie. Press 4 for Mary. For marketing, please
Let's try
press
4.
5 for
Oh,
Maybe she's in.
I've typed button available. Nowhere. He's getting nowhere. Nobody's answering.
Hi, you've reached regular. Sorry, I wasn't here to take your call. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
No.
Please leave a message after the tone.
I'm not leaving. I've already left like 3 messages for these people. Let me try one more number.
One more.
We'll try. I think there's more options. Let's see.
Go.
Hello. Thank you for calling Antarctic Logistics and Expedition. Please listen carefully as our prompts have changed. For purchasing, please press 1. For sales, please press 2 for Melanie. Press 3 for Stephanie. Press 4 for Mary. For marketing, please press 5 for Heather. And press 6 for Rachel.
Let's see if the marketing's
for human
in.
resources, please press 7 for
Not out now, is it?
People really want to sell trips, don't you? They're on the ball. Bun available. The bun available is funnier.
109 is unavailable. Please leave a message after the tone.
I think they blackballed my number.
It's a possibility.
Let's try Melody one more time. It's getting frustrating.
Hello. Thank you for calling Antarctic Logistics and Expedition.
I don't
Please
think.
listen
Nah,
carefully
maybe. Nah.
as our
Surely
prompts
not
have
blackball him
changed.
to just call
For
in.
purchasing, please press 1.
Surely not.
For sales, please press 2 for Melanie.
Come on, Melanie. Answer.
It's not happening, Rog. I'm done. Done. Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening.
I'm gonna drive to Utah.
Hello, this is Melanie. You've reached my voicemail.
No, fuck it.
In the middle of a story, he would choose that time to return books to the library. But at the same time, he would say that they should have meetings twice a day. It's like he wanted to be there and be around them, but as soon as he was there in a meeting with them, he didn't like some of the confrontation, especially when it came to identity. Sure, now if one of them said, "I'm God," the other two would say, "That's your belief," or mutter that "I'm actually God," and they would drop it. But it still seems that people like Joseph didn't like that confrontation. Like, for example, in one meeting,
they all must have been in agreement because they all said they were Christ, that Christ is God. Can you imagine if two of them was Christ, and they know that Christ is God, but the other one said, no, Christ is not God. It's kind of crazy how well they got on. I mean, I wonder where it went wrong. I mean, obviously it's wrong doing it in the first place, but I wonder what it is that actually goes completely wrong.
when Clyde wasn't there because his daughter had taken him out for the weekend, Leon was very adamant that Clyde was not there because he's dead. It was around this time as well that Leon's mythos started to expand. He started to incorporate two figures he had, his light brother and his light sister. And eventually his light brother took his wife, the Virgin Mary, to be his own wife. And it was also around this time that he got really fascinated with Yetis. Not long before, in their group meeting, they had read an article about Yetis in the Himalayas. And Leon started to incorporate this into his worldview and say that the Yetis are actually an ancient race of people, once untouched by the sin of Adam, and that they're actually the holiest group of people out there. And because his previous wife has now gone to his light brother, who I don't think he ever brought up after he mentioned him, so it's like the light brother was just used as a way to move his wife somewhere else, he is now going to marry his Yeti wife, who he describes as the Queen of Queens. He says there's going to be a huge wedding with a banquet and everyone's invited. He describes that
I was getting attacked by a fly. It was a bit of ash getting blown about by the fan.
some of the food that will be offered at this banquet is genitalia.
Hey! Poor Jack's in the house. Roger didn't get anywhere with that call, did he? Wow, nobody answering at all, bro. I just had it on live. I knew I went over to see if he was starting that call yet, and I was like, what the hell's going on? I thought I'd clicked the wrong tab. He was watching me. I didn't realize. But yeah, it seems like they don't want to answer to them, didn't they? Crazy. Good to see you, brother.
Also, in a letter he writes, goes into extreme detail about how he is to consummate with his Yeti wife. He also describes this Yeti wife of his is also his Yeti mother. Because in his mind, the figure of motherhood and the figure of a sexual partner or wife are one and the same. Sigmund Freud could have wrote a book about this guy. Then one day, Leon...
Sigmund Freud said Sigmund Freud's a nutter. An absolute nutter. I mean, he was more sick than any patient he ever blooming treated. I mean, why was he so obsessed about bloody sleeping with people men sleeping with their mothers? Freaking disgusting, dude.
Who is going by Rex, mind you, walks into a meeting and says he has a new name.
Sigmund
What is that name? Dr. Righteous Idealized Shit. Or, because he said it would be improper to say shit around a woman, Dr. Righteous Idealized Dung, but they can refer to him as Dr. RID or Dr. RIS. Why did he do this? Well, according to him...
Why would that be wrong to say that in front of a woman when the Bible actually says things like scabala? Scabala means shit. Like saying shit. Excrement. Scabala.
His Yeti wife mother visited...
It actually says dung as well. It actually says dung as well. It says piss. Pisseth. Bastards.
him and told him that that's what his new name should be. Because dung is something that is passed through the body and forgotten about. And since he is Jesus Christ, because keep in mind, he's not losing that moniker. He is...
And he's considered one of the respected doctors in this battle with reality. It's crazy. This test, I don't think it's an experiment because it's stupid. It's a sick psychological study, diabolical test study. It's not an experiment. It's disgusting. There's nothing scientific about it. It can be classed as an experiment, but it's not a scientific experiment. That's for sure. It's disgusting, immoral, feeding into people's delusions. That could have just been them being ill, but it could have been them being actually demonically influenced as well, or a mix of both.
Righteous and idealized, and should present himself as.
So that doctor, oh, what's his name again? Oh, it's a weird name, Rich, whatever it is. And he's respected. He's actually really respected, is he? Wow.
Such, but should also be humble. And what is more humble and lowly than poop? Rocky tries to talk him out of this for a while. He's like,
Rocky or something like that. That's the one. That's the one.
Like, what kind of name is Dung? The other two don't seem to mind. Joseph's like, if you want to be called Dung, I'll call you Dung. This eventually leads to an altercation with the nurses, because if they don't refer to him as Dung or Dr. Dung, he refuses to acknowledge anyone in the hospital.
It's the doctor.
So there are multiple times where they would try to get him to come to dinner.
I thought it was one of the patients, well, one of the test subjects saying that. Yeah, I noticed, dude. I had it on live. Roger. I noticed, man. Getting nowhere. Nobody wants to answer, do they, bro? Crazy. Nuts. Yeah, sorry, I thought that was they were talking about the patient. They're actually talking about the doctor saying he wanted to be called Dung. Well, he was obviously sick as well. Oh, you were referring to Freud, right? Okay. Sorry, I should have known that because I was talking about Freud, wasn't I? And so see that at that point, it's sometimes because of the gap, like there's a 20 to 30 second gap, and by the time it's said in chat, there's sometimes another kind of topic going. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. He was respected when the doctor, exactly, when he was sick. You know what I mean? Sick. Always thinking about his bloody men sleeping with their moms. Well, why? Why was that in your head all the time? But you called people thought, oh, really? Wow, amazing. You know, respect him for that. For making me think that I want to sleep with my mom. You know, it's ridiculous, man. It's sick. Hey, Rog, how you doing, bro?
Good. I'm going to call myself Dr. Dung.
Dr. Dung. Yeah, no, I went over to see if you were checking the phone call, doing the phone call, and I'm like, I thought I'd hit the wrong tab, because I was like, what the hell? Yeah. That's just this guy on. I was like, what? And then seeing you there, I was like, what? Then I realized you were watching me. I was coming to watch you, and you were watching me.
You know, I was killing time. I played like 3 Jim's videos and a music video, and I still had time with her, so I went over. I had PJs on.
Got him, man. Dude, don't ever give that dude a spanner. Why did you give him a spanner in the first place?
I don't remember giving it to him. I really don't.
Wow.
He doesn't have it anymore.
Never. Anyway, let's get it. There's still an hour of this left. Let's.
Jesus, an hour?
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours long. It's 2.5 hours long enough. And I haven't kept quiet. I mean, I've kept quiet a lot, considering what I usually talk to. But I mean, I've had to say things here and there, obviously. You know what I mean? I can't just stay quiet all the way through. But yeah, there's about an hour left. An hour, literally about an hour. Yeah.
Nobody at that place answers the phone.
Except the owner. Doesn't look like it. It's nuts. It's nuts. I couldn't believe it. Every single line you tried. Oh, if you want to talk to Engelbert, press this number. If you want to talk to Garfunkel.
Hey, what's this going on? You just need prices. Just go to the website. I know what their prices are. I need to set up a trip, dude.
Like, yeah. It seems that nobody wants to sell trips to Antarctica.
I know.
I wonder why.
Or take medicine or whatever, and he would just pretend like he couldn't hear them. So during one of the meetings, the head nurse comes in and says that she and the women of the hospital will not refer to a patient as poop. So they come to a compromise where the nurses can refer to him as RI if they prefer, but everyone else should continue to refer to him as RID. This compromise is deemed acceptable, so now he also goes by RI. It's also around this time Leon starts to get kind of difficult when it comes to things with the group. Like, for example, Joseph had made...
they're going to start getting difficult. Wow. Okay, here we go.
A calendar, basically, to say who is going to be chairman on what day. But Leon no longer follows it because the calendar says Rex.
Sorry, I'm going to leave this playing. I need to make another coffee. I'll turn it down a little bit. You need to say anything, Roger.
Okay, the question I got is right now, though, is chairman of what?
Right?
Yeah.
Young. So Leon refuses to go along with the rest of the group until they
Oh.
change his name and all of it. And also, his bathroom breaks are taking a really long time and occur during every meeting. So one day they ask him about it, and he says, okay. He tells us during the daily meeting that he has made a relic by taking 9 sheets of cigarette paper and blessing them with seed. So he's apparently been doing that every meeting. And then Rockich continues to kind of like question Leon about why he's doing this. And then midway through, Joseph stops the conversation by balancing a cigarette on his nose. And everyone else is like, well, that's pretty cool. And they drop it. It's almost like, and Rockich talks about this later, it's like Leon, consciously or not, was getting too comfortable. Like in the 5 years of confinement he had up until this point, he kept to himself. He did his private prayers and rituals. But then now he had spent several months around a group of people that he was beginning to care about. Sure, he would still say he was God if you asked him, but there was a reclusion from all of his lore about, well, I'm married to the Virgin Mary and my uncle is the Archangel Michael. But then, probably subconsciously, as he gets more comfortable, his mind begins to come up with these more grandiose scenarios. He has a light brother that took his wife, so now he gets a wife from the Sacred Yeti people, and the Sacred Yeti wife mother told him that he should change his name to Dung, and now he has to go to the bathroom to make his relics. It's tragic, but it's almost like his mind can't let himself get better. And Leon seems to have the most consistent thought process out of the group. So there's a good chance he put together that the other 2 men also believe they're Jesus. And if they're Jesus, he can't be Jesus. And if he's not Jesus, then that means he's Leon. And he doesn't like that. Or his mind doesn't like what Leon is. There's a quote Rockich uses a couple times describing Leon in the book that I think is impactful when he says, Leon became Rex for a good reason. And that reason is still there. His brain perhaps defensively went into this withdrawn state because of the awful livelihood he grew up with, coming to terms with what his childhood and what his mother was. And with all this trauma between that and his mother and his upbringing,
Surprised about all cover in the corner, the way these bloody doctors encourage them to do this. Nuts, man. Nuts.
It is.
It's such a immoral thing to do. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to make them get better. You know, and like I say, it might not have just been a medical thing. It might have been a demonic thing. It might have been either or both. Or a mixture of whatever, you know, depending on which one, or them all. You just never know.
Well, it's like going hiking with somebody and they take you up to a cliff and they like just push you over the edge.
Exactly. It's a bit like that. I mean, in fact, it's a lot like that. I don't like that. It's crazy. Literally. I keep saying crazy because, and no pun intended, but yeah, literally. And the doctor seems crazy as well. I mean, Mr. Dong. Nice.
Right when he said he had a good reason for becoming Rex, and that reason was still there. And it continues throughout the book, but it's so heartbreaking that every time he's about to make progress in a substantial connection, like writing down song lyrics for Clyde, his brain sweeps that happiness from him. All 3 of the men are tragic, all come from tragic backgrounds and have very tragic effects that their mental illness has brought them. But I feel the worst for Leon. I feel like his life was one of a lot of misery and not a lot of reprieve. Possibly because...
Hey, baby.
What's up?
Hey, Vic.
Hi, Rod.
They don't answer their phone, lady. They don't.
No, you cannot.
Thanks.
All right, babe. Love you.
Love you.
Hi.
Mate.
I need to go on my other phone to do it, babe. I've downloaded the app, but I haven't put in the details of my new phone, so I have to go on the old phone to do it.
All right. No, I just tried to put them on the telly and they don't stick.
Really?
Yeah, they just keep falling
Did
off.
you not get like pads with them, double-sided pads? You know?
I got everything with it and I've tried it and I went over it because I cleaned it all, made sure it was dry, went over it with an alcohol wipe, and they're not sticking.
Oh, no way.
So.
But the Team U ones?
No, they are not.
Nothing wrong with Team U, babe.
Yeah, Team U's got high quality stuff.
You can get
They have in some cases. It depends on what you want to pay.
No.
You do get Temu stuff, don't I?
Yeah, but it's not best quality. Look at the clothes. The
I
last
never
lot
said it
of
was
clothes
best
I got.
quality, you weirdo.
What?
I never said it was best
The
quality.
clothes I got last for you and for me were better quality, around the same price from a different place. So no, it's not that great. Like,
No, baby, yeah, for certain things, like for my fishing lures, it's fantastic.
but as for
For my fishing stuff, it's great.
my
Nice.
backlights for my telly are definitely not from Team U.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Well, they're
do you like
Grove lights.
Yeah, it's done.
Thanks.
Right, there you go.
I'm gonna buy some
Don't
double-sided.
ever ask me again.
I will later.
No, you won't. Skint now.
I'll get paid tomorrow. And Asda still owe me 200 and something quid, but hey ho.
And you owe me 6 billion quid.
I owe you like zilch.
What about all that money I gave you that I told you not to pay back? How much do you owe me out of that?
Well, I don't know.
Did you not just hear what I said?
None of it.
What did I just say?
That you told the money you gave me that you told me not to pay back. How much do I owe you? None of it.
Well, there you go. So why did you say to start off with? I don't know. You're weird.
Because I don't know. But no, I look. My neighbour over the road likes Team U. The house is plastered in Team U stuff. But
I prefer Rod Hall myself, except the fact that he had to stuff his hand up an ass. You know what I mean?
I prefer.
Did you get what I was on about, babe?
No.
Rod Hall and Emu.
You
remember Emu? You remember the Emu?
Yeah.
Shut up that then, you numpty.
Grotbags died recently.
Grotbags look like my auntie Lydia.
She died.
She wasn't green, but she had the exact same face.
She wasn't green in real life, but
obviously, but I didn't see her in real life, did I? I only seen her on the program.
Yeah, so I need.
Dave, I need to get on with this. It's still
I need double-sided tape.
And I've already given you the bloody money, so go get it.
To stick my lights on the back of my telly.
We'll go get it then.
Not the living room, on the bedroom one.
Go stick your head to the ceiling.
I'm just gonna glue your head to my thumb.
What for?
So you're under it.
No, I don't think so.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Because of Leon's newfound mood, the general emotion towards the meetings begins to wane. The guys say they've lost interest, they'd rather do something else. So to see if they're still dedicated to come to the meetings, Rocky says that the meetings will now be held in a different building at the hospital, meaning the guys have to make the effort of leaving the building if they want to be there. And sure enough, when the next day comes, no one shows up. When Leon's asked about why he didn't come, he seems remarkably depressed, sadder than Rockich has ever seen him. The guys have their first big fight after a while when one day Leon mentions that he has Joseph's squelch eye. If you'll remember, squelch is a word that Leon has used to describe like the squelch chamber in his brain, which is like energy that gets rid of negative energy. And from his description, it sounds like the squelch eye is like a third eye on your forehead that can see.
Oh, like it's like the pineal, but at the back of the head? Right, got it.
he did say squelch eye. Right?
Yeah, squelch eye. It's like the penile. It's like the penile gland, but the back of the napa. The old squelchy one.
To cosmic reality. And Leon one day says that when Joseph died the first time, he took his squelch eye. And then Joseph, who's never thought of a squelch eye before, gets upset because it's like, hey, give me my squelch eye back. And Rockich, trying to make peace, says, maybe you both have a squelch eye.
I thought when he said Joseph, we were on about Jesus' dad, Joseph. He's on about somebody else. Okay. Right. I got lost for a sec.
And then they both unanimously agree there's only one squelch eye, and they both have it. During the fight, Joseph yells, Mr. Dung doesn't know what he is talking about. He's just a big pile of shit, which is funny in itself. But then Leon replies, you are so right, sir. I'm a big pile of righteous, idealed shit. Again, it's like Leon.
Oh, that is so quite funny considering the situation. But come on, it shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place.
is doing defensive measures to push people away. During one period, he refuses to sign the chairman list because he says Joseph wrote his name with a fancy C. What actually ended this argument was unrelated to the group. One night, Joseph was going to his bed and a different patient was sleeping in his bed, a patient that, unbeknownst to Joseph, had very violent tendencies. So when Joseph told the guy to get out of his bed, he just punched Joseph in the face. When asked about why he thought this happened, Leon said, quote, "It was the cosmic evil eye that got him in trouble, and it's the evil eye that I hate." After that happened, for a while, Joseph was afraid of being hit again. So he makes peace with Leon, afraid that Leon's going to punch him. One day, when discussing his Yeti wife, Leon remarks that she has light brown hair, not combed. It's natural as it grows. She's about 7 feet tall and more than 200 pounds in weight. For one, cool, but this is in stark contrast to how he described his previous wife, a woman he described as small and 4'10". It's like the needs in his mind are changing to suit a new purpose. As this
small and 4'10". What's the difference? Small and 4'10". That's stating the same thing twice, is it not?
Yeah, he could say that. Not unless she's like 4 inches tall. That would be really small.
Yeah, absolutely.
dynamic in his mind got more intensive.
My little sisters probably were about that, 4'11". They hadn't hit 5 foot. My youngest, of my oldest sisters, the youngest one, the one up next to me, you know what I mean? She was probably just over 5 foot, but the rest of them were definitely 4'11" or under. That's why they had that's why they were hardy, because they were small and they always had to look after themselves. You know what I mean? Stocky, but small, short. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Rhonda's that way. She's at high. Yeah.
Yeah, they were hardy. They were hardy, man.
Relinquish some of the blame he had put on his mother. During one meeting, he said, "I said before that the old witch died through negativism, but this was through duping. It's possible that she repented, therefore she went to purgatory and later to heaven. Possibly. She died from a broken heart."
Oh, he's Catholic, Jesus God.
And there's a possibility she did repent. This is an extreme amount of forgiveness, possibly the most that Leon can afford his mother. Leon also quit shaving and allowed his beard to grow out to prove that he had Yeti blood in him, because according to him, those with Yeti blood would have a beard that would grow to 1.5 inches and then stop. During this time with the beard and the long hair, that Rocky said Leon had a striking resemblance to images of Christ. So at this point, the study's been going on about 8 months. Once they came up with the chairman idea, Rockage no longer brought up the fact that they all believed they were God and just let them come to that argument on their own. However, this is a study, and there's money and workers involved, and they don't.
You're calling it a study, right? That's what I'd rather call it than an experiment. Yes, it's an experiment to a certain extent, a very sick one, but not a scientific experiment. Definitely not. I would rather just call it a sick study.
Want this to take forever. And it's clear after 6 months of the chairman thing that while some progress may be made...
Earlier on, Roger, he said something about someone from England and he called them an Englander.
Oh, well, yeah. That's what I call people from England, Englanders.
Englanders, no. No, I've heard of Highlander, Lowlander, that's fine, but no, you're an Englishman, Scotsman, a Scot, you know what I mean? But I've never heard of Englander.
No. I was going to say there can only be one England.
So if you're from Wales, what are you, a Waleser?
A Whaler.
A Scotlander. An Irelander.
Brilliant.
See, Highlander, that's fine because that's like a sub. That's a sub thing, a subtopic within within Scotland and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Lowlands, like that's the Lowlands of Scotland and Lowlands of England and stuff. That's within the bigger picture. But yeah, Englander, no.
Dude, I'm looking at the price list over here on ALE, and they're from 92 grand and lower. But that's the average rate for the location.
Wow, isn't that mad?
I know.
It's nuts. Maybe it costs less the more that goes. That's what it seems like the logic with Duffy is. How did you get it for 35 grand each then?
I don't know.
See, got to be some kind of deal. It's got to be some kind of thing that was concocted up for him to get it so cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to join the Chilean army and just get stationed in Antarctica. I could get away with it.
Right.
it's probably going to stagnate about where it's at. So in February of 1960, Rockich elects to bring up the concept again. So during a meeting, Rockich says, hey, if we're calling Leon Mr. Dung, then how about we call Joseph Mr. Christ and we call Clyde Mr. God? All three men immediately reject this idea. As a matter of fact, this doesn't start a fight with each other. It starts a fight with Rockich. It's interesting. They began this study so desperate to be referred to as God, and now they're vehemently against it. Perhaps Leon's against it.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? They're kind of going the other way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because each one's thinking, well, I'm definitely God, so he can't be called God. I don't know. But they seem to get on with each other, but now it's going to go wrong. Okay.
I think they're trying to get him that way, aren't they? And get him.
Well, yes, of course. They would probably manipulate it all the way along.
Because he doesn't want the two of them to be called God. But for Clyde and Joseph, it seems that they are aware that that would bring about too much scrutiny, or that they don't want to be called by this name that isn't their given one. Rockich brings this up to Joseph and says, well, if you don't want to be called Mr. Christ, does that mean you're not Christ? To which Joseph says, I know what I am. I don't have to be called that. As the fight continues, once again, like it did in the first meeting, Leon says that this is indirect agitation. Seemingly to offer an olive branch in the midst of this, Leon says that he can go back to being called Rex if it makes Rockich happy.
Wow.
When Rockich asked why Leon doesn't like this idea, if it's because he cares about the other two men, Leon says indirectly, yes. Shortly after this, the meeting is adjourned, but a week later, Rockich pushes the button even further. See, Rockich was talking about this study at Eastern Michigan University as it was going on. As you can imagine, it was a big deal amongst his colleagues. And recently, the Ypsilanti Daily Press reported on one of the speeches he gave about the Three Christ experiment. So Rockich shows up to the meeting with a news clipping of that report and gives it to Leon, who is immediately upset by it, but reads it aloud for the group. The article goes as follows. 3 mental patients, each claiming to be Jesus Christ, have been brought together at the Ypsilanti State Hospital. The purpose of the experiment is to see what happens when a person's belief in his identity is challenged.
Ypsilanti. Right, no, I thought I spelled it wrong. I thought you were saying Ypsilanti, but you're saying Ypsilanti. Cool.
Yeah.
By someone claiming the same.
Ypsilanti.
Yeah, it is Ypsilanti. I didn't realize it sounded like it was bloody Eastern European or something like that. And then when he said it was in Michigan, I was like, oh, okay. Like, what the hell?
Dude, says Dr. Milton Rock.
If I can get a cruise to Antarctica with Nat Geo for $13,000, dude.
With who?
Nat Geo.
What is that? Is that? Oh, it's a company.
Yes, it was.
But you're talking about a passion for a minute.
Dude, I can get one for 19 for the same. Yeah, but it's like, why are ALE charging so much for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What the heck's going on? It's obviously corrupt. I mean, look at what he's doing now, and you look at the charities being. It's very sus. I mean, it's got the symbology straight away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's one word for that, and it's called wanker.
Aye, absolutely. Complete wanker. Sorry, I was just looking at what Michael texted me. So yeah, complete wanker.
I hope she gets sticky back tape. No.
Rockich, a Michigan State University psychology professor, made a report on the project Wednesday night to the MSU Psychology Club in East Lansing. He said he is interested in finding out why a person believes he is who he is. Useful data on personality beliefs have been gathered from the experiment, he added. To date, Rockich said, one subject has changed his belief about being Christ and has taken on another false identity. But we still are not sure what the long-range results will be. This one taking on a false identity is in reference to Leon changing his name to Dung. The other 2 subjects still believe they are Christ. Both are older and have been hospitalized longer than the one who has changed. One says the other 2 are dead and are operated by machines inside their bodies. The patient who changed his belief claims the other 2 are subject to electronic interference. The third patient thinks the other 2 are crazy. After all, he notes, they are in a mental hospital. So this is completely blowing any semblance of what this experiment's for, why the men are gathered together, out the door. As Leon read this, Clyde fell into a stupor, and they thought he was asleep, but when they asked him a question, he managed to answer before he went back into a slump. It's as if he completely shut down at this information. Leon's response was as follows. Sir, there's indirect warped psychology here because I respect manliness as Jesus Christ, and that's missing out of this. And I also did mention that what's written on my birth certificate is so and is included in my name, Dr. Righteous Ideal Dung, and that's not in here. And I haven't changed my personality as far as that goes. I'm still who I am as my birth certificate says, and pertaining to manliness, Jesus Christ as far as I'm concerned. I wish that could have been in here. It would have changed the entire picture pertaining to the dignity of manliness. When psychology is used to agitate, it's not sound psychology anymore. You're not helping the person.
And did you see what his birth certificate, he thought his birth certificate said earlier on? Did you see that part?
No, I didn't.
Oh, wow. Oh, it was crazy. I mean, I'd love to see a birth certificate like that. It's got all that information on it. I mean, it's had his Latin name. It had it translated. It meant King of Kings. All these things. It had so much information. It's like, wow, where did you get these birth certificates from? Mine one's just like you can either get abbreviated version or a full version, but it never has this much details on it. You know, with all the delusion and stuff. It was crazy what you were saying, bro. Like anybody's birth certificate could ever say that on it. You know,
how do you made a photocopy and he altered it or something? I don't know.
No. He didn't show the birth certificate. He just said it said that. That's it. He just said what it said. Yeah, this is the dialogue from the book. Yeah, they were actually meant to have said. These are them talking to each other and that. I mean, it's literally got quotes. You know, so the quote he's quoting it from the book, and the guy who wrote the book is the guy who did the study. I mean, it's crazy because even he wanted to be called shit. Mr. Brown from the old Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, Mr. Brown. That's funny. Mr. Blue. Dude, I can get a 10-day trip with these guys for $12,000, and it flies me there in December. At 10 days, 12,700 per person.
On the solstice though.
Well, I don't know. It says it has dates in December, November, February, January. I can look up the December one, see what date it is.
Right. So on the date of the 24-hour sun, would you be able to be there for that price?
10 days in December. The duration's 10 days. Let's see. December.
And what day is it this year that it's happening? Allegedly happening.
I'm looking.
Because it might not be the same date as last year.
It's still scrolling or still whirling. But that's the price of it's coming. Here it comes. No, it was an ad for Norwegian Cruise Lines. I think that's the people they use, probably.
you may be going there on ferry, not on a plane. That's maybe why it's so cheap. You've got to go on a boat.
I know. Here I can book the trip, November 7th and November 16th.
Right.
Oh, they got one for the 15th to the 24th at 16th. So that's the date. I can do it.
Of what? Sorry, right. Got you. Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah, 16 grand, dude.
Why not? Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that. Yeah.
Well, keep that one in consideration, definitely. Yeah. That man. Too right.
Agitating. When you agitate, you belittle your intelligence. Leon got up from his chair and said he had to go to the bathroom, but then Joseph says something very interesting. Joseph says, false identity. It's a waste of time. They're making fools out of themselves, those fellows in that paper. What it says in the paper is plain enough. That's a truthful report right there. Doctor is not crazy by any means. The patients who are claiming they are Jesus Christ are wasting their time. I'm sure that a man who has faith in himself doesn't claim to be Jesus Christ. He wants to be himself. If there are such hospital cases as stated in this article, I think he would do better for himself if he would think or claim a different manner for himself in the hospital. I'm pretty sure he would have a better chance of being freed from his insanity. This is so fascinating. Joseph hears a report about himself and says that the guys mentioned certainly just don't want to be themselves, and gives some interesting insight.
So he has a report about himself. He doesn't realize it's himself and kind of is rational about it. Weird. Isn't that mental? Literally. Mad.
side. When he says, I'm sure that a man who has faith in himself doesn't claim to be Jesus, he wants to be himself. But yet he can't apply that analysis to himself, who the article's about. So Rockich begins responding to Joseph. Who are they talking about in this article? Oh, they're talking about 3 mental patients claiming to be Jesus Christ who don't know any better. But one recognizes himself, recognizes his identity, as it were, so he's better than the other 2. He says they're crazy. Do you know who they are? No, I don't. Do you have any idea? No, their names aren't in the article. What about the one who's better? He's not wasting his time to try to be Jesus Christ. Why is it a waste of time? Why should a man try to be somebody else when he's not himself? Why can't he be himself? You mean if a person thinks he's Jesus Christ, he might be sick? Why not? What if a patient thinks he's God? Pure insanity, that's all. Should he be changed? Why, certainly, and give up that belief. That's right. He should be sent to a hospital, not to be gotten out, not to be dismissed until he has gotten well. How do you know when he's well? When he claims he's not Jesus Christ anymore. When he claims his name is his real name, which is what? What is his real name? I don't know his name. Will he be well when he claims he's not God? That's right. The doctor recognized the point that he got to such an understanding that he knows that he is. Now, this man is not crazy, I would say. If he claims he's God, does that mean he's still crazy? Sure. Do you know anyone who's done this? I don't know anyone. Is it possible that any person who thinks he's God could be right? No, that's the same thing as Jesus Christ. Clyde, do you want to say anything? Clyde raised himself from his stupor long enough to say, not very much. And
Hey, howdy, Sunshine. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Yeah, it's interesting. It's still sick, but it's interesting that this response to him seeing himself in a study, but not recognizing and being rational about it, and not recognizing that that's him. That he's talking about himself.
Well, I would say he has multiple personalities.
It's got to be. Because he's like, to claim you are God at the same time as 2 other people claiming it there, but actually thinking it, but then seeing the study of these 2 people, you would kind of thought you'd put it together. Like, I'm saying I'm God. You think you know you're God, but then there's 2 people claiming that God there as well. But you're reading about 3 people, and these 2 people in front of you are claiming about God. You know you're God allegedly, but you don't recognize that the study is about you. But what you say in the study about the study is very rational. You know what I mean? But you don't recognize that, and you're so that is very interesting.
Yeah,
to me, that's demonic, not just sick. That's demonic.
It's mental for sure. Like,
Literally.
how can you like not recognize yourself when you just did like make that claim and you're in a hospital for it right now? It's like
right. They're not mad. Even if they put their names in there, I don't think I still think he wouldn't have recognized it. Mad, don't you? Nuts.
And retreated back into it. I then sent Joseph after Leon, who was still in the toilet. This is such an insanely fascinating conversation. It's like every part of Joseph's brain is working except just his identity. And like it applies correctly to other identities. He has realistic terms and ideas for someone else in the same scenario, but there's no self or mirror to apply these revelations. Leon returns from the bathroom still mad and says that Rockich is not a real doctor. Leon continues to yell, saying that the doctor has made a fool of himself. Joseph defends the doctor, saying the doctor does a good thing coming out here to these meetings, and adds that perhaps if Leon's going to be this way, he shouldn't come to the meetings anymore. This leads to Leon and Joseph getting into a fight, and then the meeting ends by singing America. Clyde wakes up to stand up and sing America, by the way. In the next meeting, Rockich starts yet another fight.
It's a
he
song
opens the meeting saying, how is it
they all sing together? Like a hymn. Like a hymn. I know. And they're all God. They're all Jesus. It's nuts, isn't it? Literally. I think it's demonic as well. Some of it. It's got to be.
Leon has 4 names. Leon gets upset, saying he only has 3. Dung, Rex, and Christ. To which Joseph, very flatly, with no emotion, says, how can there be 2 Jesus Christs? It is so frustrating how close he is. And it seems that a part of Leon's brain is working that way too, because he immediately gets mad at Rockich and says as far as Leon's concerned, he can get out and stay out. Leon leaves to get a drink of water, and when he comes back, he's still mad and says, "You are trying to change him and change me." Rockage says, "Who is the only Jesus Christ?" And Joseph says, "I am." And then Clyde yells, "No, I am. You never was and you never will be." And Joseph suggests that Clyde adjourn the meeting as he's the chairman. And Joseph says, "I need to keep my identity. I can't give up my identity." Again, every time there's a step made, it's like their own mind pulls them back. It's heartbreaking. Rockage asks Joseph's feelings about the article, and Joseph now recognizes that it's about the three of them. "Why are you in a mental hospital, Joseph?" "I was crazy, I guess." "I wasn't crazy, but if I say I wasn't crazy, it's not believable." "Have you ever read an article like that before?" "Yes, I believe I read the same article. I laughed at it and disregarded it, forgot about it." Because of the stress this caused, they elected to no longer directly bring up the concept of identity. Because of the stress it caused, and it didn't work after all this time together, then it would just be cruel to bring it up again. I mean, if you just keep asking it to someone that doesn't understand, it's akin to torment. So they try some new strategies off of this. What if they bring the men together instead of pitting them against each other, putting one in charge at a time? The first thing they do is say that the men can have a ground card if they all agree to use the ground card at the same time. Basically, they were allowed to go to different buildings for work or for passes, but with a ground card, you can walk around the grounds of the hospital whenever you want. All of the men say no. If they have to share it, they don't want one at all. Eventually, to not be mean, they relent and just give each of them their own individual ground card. But then as another way to push them together, they decide to put the three men into the Ypsilanti hospital parade. Every year they have a little parade where different groups within the hospital make these little floats out of beds on wheels, and they have a little parade outside around the courtyard. Very cute idea. So Rockage tasked the three men with going outside and making a parade around the flora and fauna that you can see on the hospital grounds. The three men at first are super excited about this and talk all about how they're going to work together. And then almost immediately, Leon just does everything himself, says he doesn't need the others' help or their documents, designs a float. Float's a strong word. It's like brown construction paper, but he has drawn a very detailed building on the brown construction paper and then taped leaves to it. And then him and Joseph push the float on the day of the parade, and Clyde follows behind, picking up the branches that fall off. So, you know, cute and all, but not really to the end goal of getting the three men to work together. The idea being if they can work in harmony with each other, their identities will become solidified with each other, and, you know, the resulting conflictions might work themselves out. But it looks like that's not happening. One interesting thing to note is after that fight that occurred when Rockage showed the article to the three men, for several weeks afterwards, Joseph began attending chapel. You don't really think about it, but it's
attending chapel. See, when you isn't that strange? When you're thinking you're Christ, well, you're attending chapel, but you are Christ. But then the guy on the stage is professing Christ. You in the past, in the present, and in the future. As in, he died for you. You've got the Holy Spirit. He's coming back. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But yet he's sitting there. Well, they're talking about me. You know, but I'm already here. How do you reconcile that?
I don't know, man. That's what I'm trying to put on it. But these guys are cognitive enough to actually make a float, read articles, and have conversations.
Right. That's why I think it could be demonic as well. It can't just be illness. Well, I'm not saying it can. But I would say there's got to be a demonic aspect to it.
Weird for three people who say they're Jesus to not go to church. But Joseph started going to chapel and writing about how much he enjoyed it. But other than that, the total net progress, and this is getting into April, so the experiment's been going on for nearly a year now. The total net progress is still zero. Sure, they've come up at some times, but they've dropped just as far. So because not a lot of progress had been made, and, you know, studies can't fund themselves forever, and I truly believe Rockage was really determined to help these men. The team made a decision that is questionable, or I would say outright not cool nowadays. Questionable in 1960. So remember that whole thing I talked about earlier about how the problem with paranoid schizophrenics is they have primitive beliefs, but they won't allow any outside stimuli to change those beliefs. Primitive beliefs are often changed by a trusted authority figure, and paranoid schizophrenics tend to not have those. But that's not entirely true, is it? Because each of the three men, well, not so much Clyde, but Joseph and Leon have mentioned positive authority figures. For Joseph, it was the superintendent, Dr. Yoder, who he referred to as Dad. And for Leon, though the moniker had changed a couple times, it was figures like his uncle, the Archangel, or his Yeti wife mother. I mean, Leon had changed his name at the influence of his Yeti wife mother, according to him. But obviously, these figures are fictional.
Yeti
Or
wife
in Joseph's
mother.
case, his relationship
Wow.
with the figure is fictional.
Yeti wife mother, that's definitely a Freudian thing. What the
Well, you're
hell?
trying to get back into where you came from, basically.
Well, yeah.
But what if they weren't? What if the researchers conducting the experiment pretended to be these positive authority figures in order to elicit a change from the men? Now, if you have a base understanding of psychology as it relates to mental illness, you probably know that it is not advised to go along with someone's delusions.
No,
because
exactly.
reality must stay consistent if you are going to eventually bring
Right.
people back to it. If reality and delusion overlap, then the line becomes blurred and there's no shore for them to swim back to. And on top of that, you have absolutely no idea how they'll respond. I mean, for some people, their brain could be in such a tedious chemical balance that if you introduce something that their mind is trying to convince itself is real and the thing turns out to actually be real, they could have a break. All of the things that have happened in the study up until this point, I think, are completely understandable. The idea of getting them to talk to each other isn't harsh, and even the idea of confronting them about identity is kind of like exposure therapy. But feeding into someone's fictional delusions to try to change their perspective and beliefs from the inside is certainly a lot. And while I do not think that what they did is okay, especially from the results we'll see, there are a couple of points of defense for this that I think are valid. The main one being, this is 1960. The kind of things Rockage is talking about is nearly completely untapped ground. I mean, one of the reasons we know now to not feed into someone's psychosis is, spoilers, because of the results of this study. And logically, the idea makes sense. The reason you can't feed these guys new information is because there's not anyone inside they're willing to hear that information from. So hypothetically, if you become someone who they do allow in, even if that person is fictional, then almost like a placebo, they can fix themselves through their own will, even if they don't realize they're the ones doing it. And I think the other thing to consider is every step of the way, Rockage emphasized that he wanted to help these guys by whatever means possible. He was frustrated with the study up until this point, not because they didn't get any crazy results, but because the guys hadn't gotten better. I mean, not that it justifies it, but when compared to other treatments for schizophrenics at the time, it was hardly the worst of the bunch. It is hard for me to blame Rockage too hard, knowing he didn't have the insight into mental illness that we have now. So the plan was a series of letters would be drafted from these pseudo authority figures, or non-existent authority figures, and they would be delivered to the men initially just to establish correspondence, but then to try to get them to change things about their daily routine, with the eventual goal of having them change their beliefs around reality. Before Rockage goes into detail about how the letter phase of the experiment went, he outlines his concerns in this paragraph. Obviously, serious ethical issues were involved. These issues are highly complex, and we can only comment on the considerations which guided us in employing these procedures. It should first be reiterated that it was on ethical grounds that we turned away from the study of identity in normal children to work instead with psychotic subjects. Such people, we hoped there might be, therapeutically, little to lose and hopefully a good deal to gain. Second, we always proceeded cautiously with the men, assessed their emotional reactions at every step, and were ever ready to back off if we thought it was advisable. Third, we always consulted the psychiatric staff at Ypsilanti State Hospital, particularly Yoder, before embarking on a new experimental procedure, thus obtaining independent checks on our ethical judgment. Fourth, the three men continued eagerly to attend our meetings despite the procedures employed. Had they refused to deal with one another or with us, that would have been the end of it. When Joseph, for example, objected to working in the vegetable room with Leon and Clyde, we changed his work assignment. Fifth.
So they all started not getting on in the end. Isn't that mad? They were all cool to start off with, and then, wow. But they still had the delusions.
As we got to know the three men better, we were impressed by the fact that their defenses were powerful enough to counter any threat they could not cope with on a realistic level. Sixth, we were cognizant of Frieda from Reichmann's observation, quote, "We no longer treat the patients with the utter caution of bygone days. They are sensitive, but not frail." Finally, the messages we were going to send Leon and Joseph from their delusional reference were to be composed in such a way as to be supportive and emotionally gratifying. Above all, they must contain suggestions designed to ameliorate the men's unhappy condition. So, with that established, how'd it go? So first of all, let's talk about the one that the letters had the least effect on, Clyde. See, Clyde didn't really have an authority referent. Like, all the people Clyde described specifically seemed to be real. Most of his delusions were around his own grandiosity, saying that he owned all this land and women. It's not like he had these fictional characters that he would carry on conversations with. The best they could figure was Clyde had mentioned Dr. Yoder, the superintendent, in a positive light as well. So they sent him a letter that was addressed from the superintendent, Dr. Yoder, with some money to spend at the common store. And it seems that Clyde took the money and never wrote back. So for the duration of this experiment, they just quit trying with Clyde.
That was Jewish Jesus.
And he just chilled out at the group meetings while Joseph and Leon went through everything they were about to go through. Also goes without saying, all of the letters were actually being written by Rokic, with the superintendent's permission to address them as being from him. Let's now move on to the second most affected by the study, Joseph. Joseph got his initial letter from Dr. Yoder and was ecstatic. He began to write back to him almost immediately and referred to him as Dad, saying his normal stuff about how he hopes England comes for him and asked Dr. Yoder to deport him back to England. He also remarked several times that the hospital is in fact an English stronghold. Another thing to mention about Joseph that hasn't come up yet is that he was a hypochondriac. He didn't like working in close proximity to other people.
Christ that always gets ill or always thinks he's ill. What? Wouldn't Christ just heal himself then? If he was always getting ill? That's so silly.
Because he was afraid he'd catch whatever illness they had. And also see the case of him thinking he's having chest pain, so he rubs bleach on himself. So in Dr. Yoder's letters, he says he's happy to hear that Joseph is doing better, that he feels better throughout the day, and that Rokic has told Dr. Yoder that Joseph has a remarkable hand for writing. Joseph responds saying that if Dr. Yoder could help him get a job, that would be great. He could do something like be a janitor, or he could work as an assistant. But if he needs a writer, he's really good at writing, so he'll do that. So Dr. Yoder encourages him to write something. He says, write a short story or a poem or something about yourself, and they'll send it to a local newspaper or magazine to see if it can get published. And immediately on this suggestion, Joseph gets cold feet. Rokic mentioned it earlier in the book, but back when they were putting together the parade float, he realized that Joseph has an intense phobia of failure. He was excited about the parade float at first, but then when realized he was given responsibility on something that he would have to see through to make sure it turned out well, he withdrew from it enough that Leon just did everything, which Leon wanted to do in the first place. So even though he asked Dr. Yoder, someone he refers to as Dad, for a job, and now he thinks Dr. Yoder is like, sure, go ahead, he backs out. He responds to Dr. Yoder and says, well, I need more office space, and I need a secretary, and I need a typewriter. And Dr. Yoder writes back and says he can get him a typewriter, but as for the rest of it, anyone can just start writing, so he should just start writing. Joseph suggests instead, what if Dr. Yoder just publishes the letters he's already written to Dr. Yoder? He's sure people will like that. Then Dr. Yoder gets specific. He says, why don't you write about the psychology of identity? That would be interesting. To which Joseph remarks they should get a better writer to do that.
A what?
So the psychology of identity.
I've never heard of it.
No. Sounds silly.
A bunch of writers who are better at writing about that sort of thing, so he should tell one of them to go do it. Quite a stark contrast from a man who previously claimed to be God and also every famous writer ever. After Yoder continues to push him on it, he does something that no one expected, and instead makes his next letter not to Dr. Yoder, but instead to President John F. Kennedy. My dear President Kennedy, you may wonder for my sending this letter to you, but I am God, and but I am God, and I remember you as an old friend of mine. You, as President of the U.S., have already done much work for the benefit of the country. In my engineering, I knew that you would become President of the U.S. Therefore, I engineered...
I don't think Jesus would have been proud with JFK.
No.
To this effect, and I thank you for your having done so well. I cannot praise you enough for your work. But what I wish to write at this moment is that I am stranded here in the hospital, and I wish I could be released. Could you do something for me? And could you give me a job in Washington?
Jesus
I could be a
did
good
himself.
advisor. I understand science of politics, sociology, civics, economics, law, etc. I'm sure you could affect my dismal from your institution. How gleeful I would be to be your advisor. Just write to Dr. Yoder, who is the medical superintendent of Ypsilanti State Hospital, Ypsilanti, Michigan, U.S., and by telling him that you need me as your advisor and that you'd like my release, I'm sure that
Wow.
Dr. Yoder would oblige. P.S.
Oh,
Any
my
kind of
goodness.
job would do in Washington, even floor cleaning and mopping for me. I have nothing here. I am without everything. The English are the head of the caw of the world and how they take care of it. And am I glad I am English? If I could only go back to England. But the doctor who is head of the hospital claims I cannot go back to England.
back.
What am I to do now, Mr. President? If you want a good writer with you, I'm the one. I can write.
Oh.
Hire me as a writer for you or for the government, and you will never be sorry. You will be sure of me as a sober, assiduous worker. And all day I hear voices that you are my dad, my father. So please do something for me. And as you are my dad and father, I certainly am well enough to be released by your order and taken to the White House. Can you send some of your men to take me to the White
It doesn't say that, does it?
It don't.
On the screen.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. It's just stayed the same thing. I can't see any of what he's reading now.
Maybe he's just behind or ahead of it. I don't know.
Okay.
House? Please, Father, do it. And I'll be a devoted worker for you. I will live and conduct myself as God ought to. As your son, I certainly deserve a job in the government.
Oh, no,
Now you
that
have
was
replaced
it, but-
Eisenhower. As for Eisenhower,
What? I didn't. What? There were bits in there that wasn't in there. Okay. Whatever.
Well,
it was he also who brought me to the hospital.
Sorry.
I know 3 people that have identity crisis, and they would be good in Epsilon Hospital. One's named Craig, one's named McToon, and one named Brenda.
Oh, right. Okay.
You get it?
Absolutely, man. Yes, absolutely.
Hospital, so I could get my godliness from Nixon. Well, I was then vice president of the U.S., but I was
Nixon?
replaced by Nixon. If some of the writings are illogical, it's because some of the happenings took place in the world which I am talking about. I guess I have written enough, so long, Dad, and don't forget your old pal, God. Nobody else is to be picked up in my place, just me. I mean, there may be a fellow in the hospital who might want to be picked up in my place. Please give order not to pick him up. His name is R.I. Dung, and he is a patient here in D16. So it seems that Joseph had the idea in his head of Dr. Yoder being this father figure, kind of this mythical point, the most powerful person he could reach that he had a personal relationship with. But once he started getting those letters and that point became reachable, as far as he knew, the anxiety of actually being put in that position of writing something for Dr. Yoder was too much. So instead, he picks the next guy up the food chain, which is, I guess, the President of the United States. One positive effect that these letters had is it made Joseph write to people a lot more. He started writing to his wife. He started writing to his dad back in Canada. He even just started writing things like Christmas and Easter cards for family members. He even wrote a letter to his wife saying he thinks the president's going to get him out of there. So with the writing thing not working, Rockage changes his strategy. He now writes letters to Joseph in an order to combat his hypochondria. A bit earlier in the study, the 3 men were moved to a different ward where they'd be more secluded and near each other. And when that happened, Joseph's job switched from the laundry to working in a vegetable room. He complained about working in the vegetable room, saying that it was causing pains in his stomach. So to combat this, Rockage writes a letter from
How
Dr.
can you be
Yoder
God if
saying
you
that
get
Joseph is
pain?
going to receive a brand new experimental drug that should take away all his ailments. Joseph takes them for a while and says that he feels remarkably better. Of course, this drug is in reality just a placebo. After he takes them for a couple weeks, Dr. Yoder no longer supplies the placebo, and Joseph became so annoying to the staff asking for it and wrote so many letters to Yoder that they started the placebo again. For several weeks, Joseph reported feeling no pain. However, he eventually started to feel that pain in his stomach again that he felt from the vegetable room. There have been multiple instances in the past of Joseph saying he feels pain, he gets a medical examination, and everything's fine. But this time, since the placebo was working and whatever this pain was seemed to be piercing through it, Rockage had a full x-ray done, and it turns out that Joseph had an ulcer. A pretty severe one. So they put him on treatment for that, and the ulcer went away, and after that, Joseph said that all of his pain was gone, believing most of it to be from the placebo. This is actually one of the most fascinating findings from the whole study. See, it was previously believed that the only reason placebos work is because they come from like trusted healthcare officials, right? You think that the drug is something that someone who wants you to get better would give you. But for a long time, it was believed that people with paranoid schizophrenia would be unaffected by placebos, especially because in cases like that of Joseph, he's constantly paranoid about getting an illness. But it seems here, since it was from an authority figure he trusted, the placebo worked at suppressing real pain. Although not the main purpose of the study, it was an interesting finding. So, since Joseph seemed to trust Dr. Yoder, that it was now time to incorporate their end goal. In addition to the placebo, Dr. Yoder said that he would now be receiving an additional drug to help clear his mind. Joseph takes it with enthusiasm and says he's feeling a lot more clear in his head throughout the day. In the midst of this, there were also smaller asks thrown in, like Dr. Yoder asked if they could change the song they start their meetings with from America. And sure enough, every time that's Joseph's turn to be chairman, they changed the song. Rockich also timed the delivery of these letters so that they coincided with the meetings. Because most of the time, Joseph was so excited, he would tear open the letter and read it aloud to the group, which allowed Rockich to see his reaction as it happened. And most of the time, Joseph is enthused to get word back from Dr. Yoder, who again he refers to in letters as Dad, and Dr. Yoder has begun to refer to him as someone he loves like a son. Is it kind of cruel to take someone who's mentally ill and convince them they have a relationship with someone they don't actually have a relationship with? You should see what they do to Leon. After Joseph takes the second set of placebo pills for a while, Dr. Yoder begins to press. He says in one of the earlier letters, Joseph stated that the hospital was ran and funded by England and was an English stronghold. He tries to confirm with Joseph that it is in fact not an English stronghold, and he wants Joseph to know that. As Joseph reads these letters during meetings, he says it's ridiculous that Dr. Yoder doesn't know this place is an English stronghold. And over the next several letters, Dr. Yoder continues to emphasize that this place is not owned and never has been owned by England. To which in his responsive, Joseph says that he appreciates the doctor, but that this place is in fact an English stronghold. The most he is willing to concede is that it is in America and perhaps funded by the state of Michigan, but it is still an English stronghold. So Dr. Yoder says if the pills aren't working and he still believes this place to be an English stronghold, they're going to have to stop his prescription. At this, Joseph becomes erratic. He starts writing letters that are 20, 30 pages long twice a day. In them, he is pleading for the doctor to not stop the pills because they make him feel better. Eventually, Yoder says the prescription will stop next week unless you can send me a signature stating that this place is not, nor ever has been, an English stronghold or funded by England. Joseph reads this letter in a meeting and says that he just can't do it because it's a lie. An interesting point that Rockich makes is that people with paranoid schizophrenia, at least in cases like Joseph's, are unable to lie about their own delusions. It's as if the fabric of their brain is trying so hard to convince them to believe in a lie, one that goes against the reality around them, that to lie about that lie would be a betrayal of the self. Whereas you or I could lie about something, I could lie and say my name's Alex, and that doesn't cause me a mental decline. That's because our true belief, my knowledge that my name is actually Isaiah, is so rooted in reality that you can't take it from me. I can lie about it and it doesn't hurt. Whereas if the lie goes against something, even if subconsciously I have worked so hard to convince myself exists, and there is no outside evidence that it exists, then to lie would be to portray the only evidence it has of existing, calling everything around it and my identity into question. In the meeting, Rockich urges Joseph, just lie. Who cares if you believe it or not? If you want the pill, just sign off and send it back. Because Rockich is hoping maybe even just lying about the lie could lead to a breakthrough. In one of Joseph's final letters to Dr. Yoder, he says, "My dear Dad, I was hopeful that I would partake of the medicine in question for a longer time, but since you have decided otherwise, I simply have to do without the medicine. As you are the head doctor of this hospital, your saying for the discontinuance of the medicine is so valid that I am now helpless to do anything. In other words, I have to do without. Yours very truly, Joseph Cassell." From there, his letters to Dr. Yoder seemed to taper off. He was also writing extensively longer reports about the weekend meetings that they would have or just other things happening at the hospital than he was before the letters began. It was not uncommon for these to be 40.
You drop it forward a bit. Right.
A struggle. His brain is constantly trying to convince him that he's someone else.
Well done. Let me take it back a little bit. Wouldn't see that from that.
He did not have that idea before Rockich introduced it. Not about himself. It seems he had those before from his writings. But about Almighty God Yeti Woman, So now Rakich is manipulating, further than he is with the letters, manipulating the image of his wife in his mind. As they're discussing this, an aide comes in with another letter from his wife. Something else to mention about Leon is that he does not like money and never uses it. Since he has been in the hospital, he has not touched his bank account, which compared to the other patients is really big. Because all of his money from the VA, if you'll remember he was in World War II, gets deposited into his hospital account. But he has stated multiple times he does not like money. He is given free food that he works for with his job at the hospital, and he bums cigarette, paper, and tobacco off other people. He stated multiple times in their conversations that he doesn't want to touch money. Money causes evil. It causes your heart to go after it, and there's better things to put your heart on. When the aide walks in with the letter, Leon says, "Oh, was she a woman about 5'5", blue eyes, longish nose?" The aide says, "Yes," and Leon says, "Thank you. That's God." He opened the letter and began to read silently. Rakich asked what it said. Of course, Rakich knew as he wrote it. Leon reads aloud, "My dear husband, I am happy to be able to say that I can send you at this time the enclosed $1. I expect you to use this to buy yourself refreshments and a ballpoint pen for your use today. Sincerely yours, Madam Yeti Woman." Leon remarks that money is a means to an end, and he pulls out the $1 bill. Leon was now gazing at the dollar bill that had been enclosed in his letter with an intensity of expression which puzzled me. "What are you looking at?" Suddenly I realized that he was really doing something I had not expected to witness. He was struggling to hold back his tears. With this much effort, he would surely succeed, but he did not. 2 tiny droplets formed in the corner of his eyes, and ever so slowly they grew slightly larger. There they remained for a moment or two until they squeezed themselves out as if off their own accord, despite Leon's struggle. I watched their slow descent down his face. The mood this aroused soon gave way to another. As the 2 tiny droplets approached the halfway mark down his cheeks, Leon neatly scooped them up with his index finger, first one, then the other, and sucked them into his mouth. "What are you doing?" "Tears are the best antiseptic there is," said Leon. "There's no use wasting tears." He began to examine the dollar bill, turning it over from one side to the other. "I haven't seen one of these for years. To handle." He read the name of the Treasurer of the United States and the serial number. "Does the letter make you happy or sad?" "I feel somewhat glad." "Is there something the matter with your eyes?" "Oh, they're smarting, sir. So I'm enjoying some disinfectant, sir. Best in the world." Tears. "Are you crying?" "No, my eyes are smarting because of some condition." "You say you feel somewhat happy?" "Yes, sir. It's a pleasant feeling. It's a pleasant feeling to have someone think of you."
Wow. Wow. It's so mad, the delusion.
poor
I'm
person.
telling you that just couldn't get over it.
Leon's life was full of just
He cried.
misery at every point. He didn't have a father. His mother was awful to him. That awfulness spread. The disease passed on. Every day had to be such a struggle. His brain is constantly trying to convince him that he's someone else, that everything that's happening around him isn't what it is, that there's some grander world, that he gets to be God, that he doesn't have to put up with this. There's a verse in the Bible in Matthew 25 when Jesus, funny enough, is describing what Judgment Day, what it will be like when, all the Christians, those that have done good on earth, are called up to heaven. And it says that God will look on those that were faithful and praise them and say, "When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you visited me."
Maybe
it
he
says
is
the saints will respond to him and say, "Lord, what are you talking about? We never saw you naked. We never saw you hungry or mad or out of your mind. What do you mean?" And God replies and says, "That which ye have done to the least of
Maybe he is a
these,
Christian. I didn't know.
ye have done unto me." That $1 bill may have been one of the only non-circumstantial acts of kindness Leon might have ever received. It wasn't someone doing their job. It wasn't someone who was paid to take care of him. It was someone that he thought of him and sent him $1. And despite all of his confusion, despite all the tricks his mind played on him, that got through. That meant something. It's funny. I didn't think about that till just now. That verse in the Bible, it talks about how we treat, the least of these, the people who need it the most, is how we treat God, right? And now we have 3 guys at a psychiatric hospital in Michigan who each claim themselves to be God. Why should we treat them with compassion as if they were anything else? In a moment of kindness after this, Clyde had previously remarked that he likes Leon's pen that's broken and taped at the middle. So Leon says he's going to buy a new one with the $1 his wife gave him and hands his busted pen to Clyde, before he immediately takes the pen back, saying he still needs it until he buys the new one. Leon begins to walk around outside more. He seems more active and happy for a while. One day he spotted kneeling outside of the church or the chapel that he's never been in before. He tries to go in, but the doors are locked. Sure enough, Leon goes to the store that he's never been in before, buys a ginger ale and a ballpoint pen, and then gives his old one to Clyde. Similarly to how they did Joseph, in the next letter from Maddie Yeti Woman, they ask Leon to change the starting song to Onward Christian Soldiers. He says after he went to the store and bought cigarette paper and tobacco, he took the remaining change and left it in front of the Jewish, Catholic, and Protestant chapels. Joseph remarks one day that he doesn't think Leon has a wife, and Leon says that my wife is within me. She's also my father and mother. Similar to Joseph with Dr. Yoder's request, when it is Leon's turn to be chairman, they sing Onward Christian Soldier. A couple letters come from his wife telling him to go to the store, buy specific brands of tobacco to give the remaining change to Clyde and Joseph, to which he does. Again, the end goal in this is to have a positive influence, try to get Leon to fix his mental state from within. And Rocky summarizes a series of things Leon has done that he never did before the letter. He had gone to the store, to the chapel, and to the library, 3 places he had not visited before. He had accepted money, handled it, and carried it around with him, something he had not done before. He had cried. He had spent money on himself. He had given money to Clyde and Joseph. He had changed the song used to open and close the meetings. All these changes were potentially of great therapeutic value. Leon had varied and broadened the range of his behavior. He had allowed himself to feel, to express, for once, a human emotion. His fierce need to punish himself had let up sufficiently to permit him to enjoy a few small pleasures which money could buy. And Leon had been charitable. He had shared his money with 2 other persons in need. Now, amidst all this is his normal babble, now just applied to his Yeti wife. Things like having cosmic intercourse and trying to understand intimacy and, the usual. There was one interesting point that Leon made in the midst of this when he said he has discovered that God has both positive and negative influences, meaning that this figure of God or his wife...
No, nothing negative about God. Anything about God would be positive, righteous, anyway. And holy.
Life within his mind is not infallible. So the next thing they try to get Leon to do that potentially would push him in the right direction is to change his name from Dung. So they come up with another name. Perhaps he could call himself Domino or go back to Rex, but Madam Yeti prefers Domino. Leon does nothing with this information. Doesn't make any express purpose to change his name. We don't know how he reacted to that specific part. Another letter comes giving him money, telling him to go to the store, and he does that. However, on September 28th, Leon receives another letter. He takes the letter, feels the coins inside, and hands it back to the aide. The aide tries to deliver it later, and the same thing happens. He writes a letter to one of the doctors in the ward and says, "Please return these 3 dimes to Madam Yeti Woman. I know you know who she is. Tell her I do not want any more donations or letters. Tell her I trust in the sanity of God, the 10 Commandments of God. Respectfully, Dr. R.I. Dung." It seems that one of Leon's core beliefs was money bad. So initially he was so ecstatic over his wife sending him money that he put that to the side, but now he can't let that go by. So any money his wife or God sends him is the insanity of God rather than the sanity of God. Again, positive and negative now. Leon comes to the meeting on September 29th, neatly shaved. An aide brings him a letter, but Leon says he's not reading it. Leon says that letter is a fake written by Dr. Broadhurst. Rockage takes a look at the letter and says that this isn't Broadhurst's signature, but Leon is sure of it. In talking with Leon alone after the meeting, Leon says that Madam Yeti Woman is using his VA funds in his bank account to send this money, and he won't have it. He says, "I don't care for the insanity of God. I can't divorce her. She's with me all the time, cosmically." He also adds that God is using Dr. Broadhurst's body and thus tempting him into adultery. It should be noted that Dr. Broadhurst was an attractive young woman, so perhaps the introduction of her into the scenario and the feelings he had towards her made him think in his mind, oh, I have attraction to this body. It must be my God wife possessing her, trying to commit me or trying to get me to commit adultery, which of course is a bad thing, so therefore the insanity of God. So it seems that now the positive authority figure of Madame Yeti Woman has been run into the dirt. Leon no longer trusts it and thinks that it is evil. So they figure, well, there's one more positive authority figure, his uncle, who he believes to be the Archangel Michael. So that evening, they have a phone call waiting for him that is supposedly from his uncle. The uncle, who's actually a research assistant talking on the other end, goes on to say that he's been in touch with Madame Dung and that they are both working for his redemption and that Leon must not say that Madame Dung, who is also God, is insane or negative. Leon listens, apparently with much interest, then suddenly he interrupts, sir, excuse me, sir, your voice doesn't sound like my uncle. Goodbye, sir, and hangs up and returns to the sitting room. So now it seems that Leon is not trusting anyone who claims to be an authority or a positive presence in his life, even if it's someone he came up with. It seems they have effectively locked him down. In a last-ditch effort to help Leon, they move to a new strategy. It seems that a lot of Leon's problems come from the influence his mother had in his life. So perhaps a positive female influence could make a difference. So they swap out one of the research assistants who have been around during the meetings with a new one, Miss Anderson. Immediately, Leon seems to take as he becomes infatuated with Miss Anderson. Right after meeting her, while in his room, he asks to speak to the head nurse. Nervously, he tells the head nurse that he has had a wife that is God, that is astrally projected to him, and they have intercourse, and he now believes that God is possessing her. And then midway through, the nurse figures out where this is going and says, you know, Leon, we can't have relations with each other. And immediately Leon goes, okay, thank you, bye, and asks her to leave. It's almost as if within Leon's mind, similar to how when he was married to the Virgin Mary earlier, he couldn't just abandon her from his thought process. He had to invent a light brother, and then the light brother had to take the Virgin Mary away. Similarly, he's currently married to the God Yeti Woman. And as mentioned, she's with him all the time. He can't divorce her. But now, in saying that she is within the nurse and her rejecting him coming on to her, that seems to be grounds enough for him to divorce her from his mind, meaning he can now pursue Miss Anderson, which he does right away. He begins to write her a bunch of letters talking about all of his proclivities that I've mentioned before. He says now that his wife is a bisexual creature variously called Ruth, God, and Lourdes. Right now, he's Lord, potential Lourdes. He then begins to say he's married to Grand Morphe, short for Morphodite, or Grand Morphe Anderson, because he just starts flat out calling Anderson that, or GM Anderson for short, and just projects his feelings onto her. She's, of course, part of the study and his understanding of this. He begins to reverence her as a sort of deity. After every meeting, he would ask to stick around and talk with her. Initially, Rockage would set in on these, but that would annoy Leon, so eventually Rockage got the hint and left. A lot of their conversations, while doused in his sexual proclivities, are adorably juvenile. A lot of talk of, oh, when a guy likes a girl, and what's attraction like, what's kissing like. She makes it very clear she cannot have relations with him, but he just likes to talk about it with her. Multiple times he would sit there in silence and then say, I can't think of anything else to say. I guess I have to go. He would do everything he could to make these conversations with her last longer. However, because she's around, Leon begins doing odd things. For example, some days he'll be super lovey-dovey. He'll bring her pins. He'll let her have a cigarette, something he doesn't do with anyone else. Then if she's gone over the weekend or has somewhere else to be, for the next several days that she's back, he will be pouty. He'll be cold, he'll swear a lot, he'll storm out of the room as soon as the meeting's over. It's like he feels personally betrayed that she wasn't with him. At one point, while talking, he drops to his knees and begins to call her God and worship her, and then says, okay, see you next meeting. He also goes back and forth from wanting to be attracted to her to feeling like he needs to deny these attractions. For a few weeks, he would wear cellophane, like a blindfold, around his eyes everywhere he went. And then when that wasn't enough, he switched over to red cellophane because it's darker, and then put blinders on the side of his head like a horse. It seems his purpose in this was to not observe Miss Anderson so he would not have feelings of lust. It's also because of these conflicting emotions and all the things that were happening in his head at the time, between the letters he got to now denying himself and then throwing himself into Miss Anderson, that all of his internal concepts got really messy. For while he said he discovered the femality, or the female counterpart within himself, and that he had become pregnant with himself and was pregnant with twins, but then shortly afterwards, because the twins were morphodites, as he called them, they miscarried. The breaking point came when Anderson took a week
yourself,
off for
I get it, I
vacation,
get it.
and when she came
No
back,
problem.
he wanted nothing to do with her.
Yeah,
When she asked why he
biologically,
wouldn't stick around for their
absolutely.
private meetings, he
Of
said that he would not commit adultery. And from there, he seemed completely done with her, but not only done with her, now he was married to the female counterpart of himself. So now even the fictitious people he had created that were members of his life were all gone, and he had withered that down to just different versions of himself. So not only did this phase of the experiment not cure Leon, but it caused him to become more withdrawn. The previous joy he had from just being near Clyde and Joseph gave way to constantly more complicated delusions. Eventually, he became disagreeable to even them, and it seemed for Leon, all this phase did was push him further from recovery. With the group already shaky about what they had done with the letters and the fake authority figure thing, and the fact that this had now been going on about 2 years, they decided to call the study quits, ending it on August 15th, 1961. It seems from this last stage of the experiment, Leon got worse, Joseph became more depressive, but Clyde was Clyde. In the analysis at the end, Rockage talks about a lot of the different outcomes from different phases of the experiment. Things about how Clyde operated with denial, how Leon was the most high functioning when it came to conversation or making sense of his world, at least initially. But as you could see, it's not like any of them were cured. The positive note that the analysis ends on is, we have learned that even when a summit of 3 is composed of paranoid men deadlocked over the ultimate in human contradiction, they prefer to seek ways to live with one another in peace rather than destroy one another, which is nice, I suppose. There was a lot of really valuable things that were discovered in this study. A lot of the ways the men would react to new information or they would argue with each other was very crucial in future understandings of schizophrenia. But as far as the 3 men themselves, not much is known beyond Rockage's epilogue at the end of the study. Rockage says, the story of the 3 Christ of Ypsilanti cannot, of course, be finally told as long as they remain living men. Still, a few things can be said that go beyond the account related here. In other words, because each of the 3 men are under a pseudonym until they're dead, Rockage can't go into full detail about where they are, how they're doing. What he does say is, after Clyde and Joseph and Leon were left to themselves again in August of 1961, they continued to be seen together in their sitting room in combinations of 2 or 3. But they no longer held daily meetings, and Leon soon reverted to eating alone. Nevertheless, a strange sort of cohesiveness continued to persist among them, not unlike the cohesiveness of a conflict-ridden family, in which the individual members, while withdrawing into themselves, carefully avoid breaking the final strands of human interdependency. Rockage goes to outline a lot of problems with the setup of the experiment itself. Of course, 3 is an incredibly small sample size, and there were so many variations in the way these men came about their illness and the different ages and how long they had been institutionalized, that not a lot cohesively can be said about the methods, just simply an observation from the case. They also had a control group. They had taken 3 women from Ypsilanti who believed themselves to be different identities, but they each believed they were like 3 different people, and they would have meetings with them, but they would never confront them on identity, which wouldn't have mattered because they each thought they were someone else. And they only did that for 6 months before they were kind of like, this is a waste of funding, and they dropped it. So yeah, a lot of problems with the experiment setup itself, and even forgetting the whole letter part near the end, putting people who think they're the same person in a room with each other, maybe not super cool and ethical, maybe. So while it will never be repeated, it does exist as its own case study. Clyde and Joseph give every appearance of remaining essentially unchanged, but Leon continues to show evidence of change, or at least further elaborations in his delusional system of belief. I still visit him every few months, and at each visit I find Leon's story a bit different from the one he told before. He is still groping for new answers to the riddle of his identity to replace earlier and less satisfying answers. The prognosis for schizophrenia, paranoid type, is poor, perhaps poorer than for any other diagnostic category of functional psychosis. In the extreme, it is a condition which some textbooks describe as incurable or irreversible. But to say that a particular psychiatric condition is incurable or irreversible is to say more about the state of our ignorance than about the state of the patient. This study closes with the hope that at least a small portion of ignorance has here been dispelled, and with the faith that as knowledge gradually advances, the incurable conditions of yesterday and today become the curable conditions of tomorrow. So in this printed copy of the book, which was printed 20 years later, Rockach includes an afterword. In it, he says, Leon Gabber, the youngest of the three, is alive and well, but still a patient at Ypsilanti State Hospital. Clyde Benson, the oldest, was discharged into the custody of his family in January of 1970. Joseph Cassell died in August 1976. Clyde would have been pushing 80 years old, but he was out for a while. He got to be back with his daughters. And while we can assume that Leon is dead now, considering that this 20-year afterword was written around 1980, he was alive and well, if still a patient. Rockach says something in this final afterword that is fascinating. He says, while I had failed to cure the three Christ of their delusions, they had succeeded in curing me of mine, of my godlike delusion that I could change them by omnipotently and omnisciently arranging and rearranging their daily lives within the framework of a total institution. I had terminated the project some 2 years after the initial confrontation when I came to realize, dimly at the time, but increasingly more clearly as the years passed, that I really had no right, even in the name of science, to play God and interfere around the clock with their daily lives. I found out from my teachers, the three Christ of Ypsilanti, exactly in what sense they were trying to be godlike. They were striving for goodness and greatness, and such strivings, I came to understand, are really the strivings of all human beings. The main difference between the three of them and the rest of us who are also trying to be godlike is that whereas the rest of us can bring ourselves to admit the impossibility of our ever becoming absolute or infinitely moral and competent, the three Christ found it difficult to admit such an impossibility. Nonetheless, I learned that what all of us have in common with the three Christ is that we all strive to maintain and enhance our self-conceptions and self-presentations as complete and moral. This is one of the major ways in which humans who would be Christ or Christ-like are distinctively different from other living beings. And that is the full story of the three Christ of Ypsilanti.
Absolutely.
Again, it is hard for me.
Absolutely, Sunshine. Sorry, I was doing something to do with tomorrow's stream. The human being in those situations is the same as ours. TV, laptops, TV, PCs, mobile phones. They're all good when working properly. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Yeah, that's him done. That's him done, I think.
To write off Rockach as like an evil scientist, right? It was such an early stage.
Well, at least he admitted his wrongs in the end, but still shouldn't have happened in the first place. It's interesting the dialogue in that they came out with and how they sometimes they were so rational but didn't recognize it in themselves. Interesting, but still should not have been done, you know. But it is interesting to see how some people think. Mad, literally. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's it. I suppose I got it done at the end of the day. I mean, I know it was a bit boring and all that, and I couldn't put too much input into it because I didn't know about it. I could only just say what I thought here and there. Yeah, kind of. So I was not many people here today at all. So I don't know. I don't know if people enjoyed it or not, but yeah, it was interesting for me. But yeah, it's definitely immoral. Definitely immoral. Madness at the end of the day. But yeah, I will be on practice tonight. And I will be on tomorrow. It's Friday tomorrow night. So I'll be on tomorrow afternoon and then movie night as well. So I'll have a topic at night as well. And then it'll be 2 episodes of Chosen, episode 3 and 4 on the 5th season. We're nearly there. And then a movie as well. Not sure what the movie is. Can't remember what the movie is tomorrow night. I think we've got a few to pick from. I know we're doing the new Jurassic Park at one point. We're doing Full Metal. It might do Full Metal Jacket. I don't know. Maybe do Full Metal Jacket. Don't know. We've got Dark Tower as well. See, because I've never seen that. I know it was from like Stephen King books, but which I never read his fantasy books. I only read his horror. Yes, I'm not quite sure. But it's definitely 2 episodes of The Chosen. So I don't know whether I put the new Jurassic Park on Friday or Saturday. I might put the new Jurassic Park on Friday because it's new and I haven't seen it yet. I know it's probably going to be terrible, but at least it's in HD. I'm still waiting for Superman to come out in HD. But yeah, we've definitely got Full Metal Jacket to watch as well this weekend. And there's another one. Dark Tower, obviously. Okay. I still have to have a look for a few more. Anyway, let's get this done. Let's get this done. Because let's just see if Flats has put his stream up yet. So I'll give you the link in case he has. Don't think he has that, or it would have come it up. Means I think. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. He has not. He hasn't. All right, guys. Bless you. Thanks for spending time with us. I know it was a little bit boring. I won't choose one as long as that next time. I just thought it'd be interesting. I just thought it was interesting, but I don't think as many people thought it was interesting as I did. So maybe it was just too long for them, and I didn't. Like I say, I wasn't talking a lot through it because it was long, and obviously I had to get through it, and didn't know much about it. I was learning, so yeah, okay, all good, all good, all good. I'll see you some Flats. If not, I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, and then again tomorrow night. Bless you guys, love yous, and I'll see you in a little bit. Either the sunset's free, it's free.
Indeed.
Oh no, sorry, Harry Mack. I'll do the Indeed bit in a bit. Sorry. Roger did it as well. Harry Mark. Sorry about that. Right, let's do it.
Put it, Harry.
Oh man, I'm loving my life right now, and I'm loving to see this multi-generational situation we have going on. Who's with you right now?
This is my son Weston. He's a huge Harry fan also.
Weston, what's going on? What's going on? Much love. Hey, I love it. Thank you for being here. I'm putting some things together right now. I'm connecting some dots. Are you a firefighter?
I've been in the fire service for 15 years.
Awesome, bro. Well, thank you for your service, man. Thank you for what you do. Well, we're excited to have y'all on here. I see you have some inspo you want to toss my way. Is that right?
Absolutely. First word I've got to go with is medic. I'm a paramedic. I love medicine, and I always rep out the medic world.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I have a word.
Oh, hold on, Bubba. My second word is sons.
Yeah.
I have two sons, and they're everything. They're my world in and out, day in, day out, and
beautiful.
They're everything.
Beautiful.
And then my last word is focus.
Okay.
You know, I work a lot. It's hard to focus, hard to stay on track. So, curious to see how you can play it.
I love it. I have to ask, did Weston have a word? Was he about to throw a word out?
Bless you, dude. Bless you. Always a pleasure.
He was not out here when we threw words. What's your word?
Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Rubik's Cube is going in there somewhere. I love that. Thank you for that. All right, so we got medic, sons, focus, and Rubik's Cube. I'm going to drop this beat. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Hey. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Happy hour in the place to be. Come on. Happy hour in the place to be. Hey. Happy hour in the place to be. Hey. I crushed the mic so amazingly. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. I crushed the mic in the majorest way. Peace to all the medics who be saving the day. Yeah. Shouts out to your sons, family. It's never hopeless. Yeah. As long as y'all got them, you got the focus. Come on. Y'all know that I'm really about to set it. Yeah. We about to send some love out to the medics. Much love to your sons. With them, it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, then you can keep your focus. Come on. And y'all know that I'm holding down the fort. Peace to all the medics bringing hospital support. Yeah, especially nowadays. Yo, it ain't a fun time to be up on the front lines during COVID-19, but someone's gotta do it. We living out a purpose. Firefighter 15 years, thanks for your service. I can only imagine the things that you seen. Yeah, you be going hard, dog, you know what I mean. Hey, yo, this man climbing up ladders, coming with the hose. Yeah, with the water out the hydrant and the flow. All into the house just so the flames extinguish. Real talk, homie, firefighters gotta bring this. Mac all up in it, and I got the bars they mentioned when I'm finished. Man, the track will need some medical attention. H-Mac, I'm spitting this with lots of soul. I'm known for putting microphones up in the hospital. Let's get it, I crush it in a major way. Love to all the medics came to save the day. Shouts out to your sons. With them, it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, you know you got your focus. Come on, said I crush it in a major way. Hey, piece of automatics came to save the day. Big love to your sons. With them, it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, you be keeping your focus. Yeah, and y'all know the game, that's what I'm best in. Hey yo, peace to your son that's named Weston. Hey yo, peace to your other son not on the screen. Both sons representing the team. Hey yo, I'm here for my people, I'ma do this, dude. Weston was like, could you do one about Rubik's Cube? No doubt, H-Mac, man, I always recover. Yeah, y'all know when I'm in it, I align all the colors. I'm solving the puzzle, it's nothing subtle. Fixing the algorithm every time I'm spitting. I come with a vision, it's Harry Mack, I'm on my mission. I got your jaw dropping, man, I do this often. Once I start the rhyme and never stopping. Yeah, and y'all know I'ma spew it, I'm rehearsed. Set the rhythm, my son, cause I birthed the verse. I got rhythm like drum when I'm banging, yo, I be on the scene. Weston, we matching with that neon green. Let's go, I crush it in a major way. Hey, piece of the medics coming to save the day. Hey, love to your sons, with them, it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, then you can keep your focus. Come on, y'all, I crush it in a major way. Hey, yo, piece of automatics came to save the day. Much love to your sons, with them, it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, listen, okay. Hey, yo, the studio is what I'm trapped in. Taking action, I'm rapping, I'm trying to get past them distractions. What can I do, man? It seems like they surround me. Seems like distractions is building up a boundary. How can I break out of the shell? How can I keep my focus where it needs to be more easily? Well, listen, I was having struggles, so I had to set it straight. It's still a learning process, but I make some time to meditate. Focus on the breathing every morning and it helps. Gotta spend like 20 minutes just to be there with myself. Yeah, 20 minutes by myself, something they can't ruin. 20 minutes dedicated to non-doing. Nothing on the list, nothing I gotta think about. Nothing that I gotta go and visit a shrink about. Nothing driving me crazy, nothing driving me insane. Meditate and focus on my breathing, easing all the pain. Let's go, I crush it in a major way. Set piece of automatics came to save the day. Much love to your sons, with them it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, then you can keep your focus. Come on, said I crush it in a major way. Piece of automatics came to save the day. Much love to your sons, with them it's never hopeless. As long as you got family, then you can keep your focus.
Nice. Right, guys, that link in there, it's a link for tomorrow afternoon stream. I just quickly put it together now. So that's it. That's for tomorrow. I need to change the first word from the to this. So I put the man. I mean, it's meant to be this man. Anyway, bless you guys. Love yous. And as I said before, Heal the Sunset is free. It's free. Indeed. He already did it anyway. Bless.